Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
Teague floats one off the window, score it, plus the foul.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Up-tempo for Baylor. Ebner straight ahead. Johnson lassoed him from behind, but instead he pushes across for the Bears touchdown.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Wow. Shua showing a little outside shot.
Goodness, Big Jonathan nailing some shots, too.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Tuesday afternoon, and back in studio for me after a trip to see my brothers in Florida. Had a great time, but back in studio, Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak. Armstrong Sims, Hayden is here, and also Jack as well. I was listening to your interview with the newest addition to Nikki Collins' staff, and she has one more full-time assistant to hire. And I think a graphics coordinator is also one that she's looking at hiring as well. Really enjoyed his personality, and I didn't think about it that, they were going to play Baylor. Had they won their game, they did not. Virginia Tech beat them. And next thing you know, well, then he has an idea a little bit about, I'm sure watched Baylor before, but had a scouting report. So one more to go, and one that will not be a part of the staff, and this is not breaking news really or any surprise, is Satia Messer is going to join Kim Mulkey at her staff at LSU, on her staff at LSU. Made me think of this, off the top random, 254-339-1122. What former Baylor assistant coach do you wish would have become a head coach at any sport?
Philip Montgomery.
All right.
I think, unfortunately for Monty and that staff, is he had not been gone for that long, and they were too entwined with what happened before to make it work. But would love to see Philip Montgomery, kind of keep that thing rolling.
So you're asking a head coach at Baylor?
Yeah. You wish what former assistant coach who was an assistant coach at Baylor could have been a head coach at Baylor?
At Baylor, okay. I'd have to give it some thought. Philip Montgomery's a good choice. A lot of football guys are too toxic to can't say Kendall Briles because that wouldn't work. Can't say Phil Montgomery really because that wouldn't work. But, I don't know. I'd have to give it some long thought.
Yeah, Philip was at least separated a little bit, but at the time they were looking to replace somebody in 2016 after Jim Grove was the interim. There's no way that at that time, no matter Philip Montgomery, no matter what he's done at Tulsa, and it's been good for him at Tulsa even. And I love the fact that his team was able to sustain last year's success and gut through what was a couple of years there where things were starting to get a little bit dicey for him. Basketball. Scott Drew's been around since 2003. Obviously, in women's basketball, Satia Messer and Bill Brock got interviews with Mack Rhodes, but they were not the leading candidates, although either one of them was a part of the conversation. What about if you go back to the days of even older, back in the days of Pete Fredenberg? And some would say, wait a minute, well, Fredenberg had some things, maybe some asterisks in what he dealt with when it comes to the NCAA. But obviously his success at Mary Hardin-Baylor doesn't mean he transfers that to Baylor, but that's a name that possibly could be brought up as well.
Yeah, you could bring him up. You could bring Grant Taft had a couple of assistants, I'm sure, probably would have been better head coaches than the guys that they hired between him and Art Briles.
You think?
Well,
one of them was Chuck Reedy. It was not awful.
Look, Mike Gundy was an assistant here. And he's done a really good job as a head coach at Oklahoma State since he's had that job. So you could put him in that category. And then, this is no indictment on what Steve Rodriguez is doing, but in the we're talking in the abstract here, so it's as if Steve Rodriguez hadn't existed. But Mitch Thompson, I think he's kind of shown that he's a college head coach for sure, even at the JUCO level. So
kind of won a national title while you were gone.
Yeah, I know. I saw the last out. I kind of kept up with it. It was a hell of a run by Mitch. and by MCC. And then it made me realize, they've been there a lot, and then it had been since the 83 team. They knocked on the door. Remember, was it like 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was, because we carried the games at the time where we were, and they had that wasn't it a long game against somebody, I don't know, out of Florida or whoever, they on the cusp of a national championship. It didn't work out. But that was awesome for them. And then they're going to celebrate tonight at the backyard off of, is that Franklin, Paul, or Austin Avenue? Franklin?
It's off of, 8th Street.
Okay, all right. So the backyard, they'll have a celebration, in fact, going on this evening from 5:30 until 7. Here's a quick update, by the way, on the Midway football coaching search. They will interview what appears to be 4 candidates starting either Thursday and or on Friday. They hope to be able to offer whoever they decide on Monday. They do not have to wait for school board approval. The superintendent has clearance during the summer to be able to make hires, sign contracts, but they hope to have somebody an offer. They might even would like to do that by Friday, but it could take some time by Monday and have somebody done, official, and hired by Monday afternoon.
So nobody's listening right now. You can go ahead and tell us who those 4 people are. Nobody's listening right now. You can just go tell us on the slide.
I have an idea who 3 of them are. I'm not sure about who the 4th one is, although I do think there is familiarity with 2 of them when it comes to Central Texas.
You know what would be funny if Jack...
One of them out at maybe Dallas and another one who's probably around Dallas.
If Jack turned all the microphones off right now, we just went YouTube only... but silent, and you put your hand like this so people can't read.
No, I've seen people do that on Twitch streams when they got to say something off mic, and they'll just mute it and they'll cover their mouse if they're smart and then they'll just pop it right back on. So maybe we just do that in the commercial break instead. It'd be easier on Jack.
I just like watching the wheels turn in Smokey's head.
Because
you can see him right there. You can see him going, what should I do? Should I do this? I want to do this. It seems to be fun, but I feel there's a chance the mics won't be off. I know all the things running through his mind right now.
I feel like probably guess a couple of them, but I'd be interested to know, a couple of them. So anyways, we'll talk about that later, but I am curious because I know you heard the interview and you were on with us, but your thoughts now that you're back on Jeff Hume leaving Midway for Mansfield Legacy.
I kind of gave you guys a little bit of that, and Jeff and I had talked earlier that day. They were 2-7 last year, and it doesn't matter what district you're in, no matter whatever the ups and downs sometimes you have, the talent. They had that incredible team that just melted down in the state championship game against Cypress Fairbanks, and after that, the next year they were pretty good, but there's a standard there, and I honestly believe now that it's all official, I think Jeff felt the heat, knew there was heat, and knows the schedule they have coming in the next year where you're still going to have at least those 3 hickeys with Duncanville, Cedar Hill, and DeSoto, with all due respect, and even a game or 2, who knows, not a given they'll be a playoff team, and I think that Jeff was doing not only himself a favor, but also doing maybe Midway a favor, because it's kind of uncomfortable when a guy takes you to a state championship and then 3 or 4 years later you might want him to look elsewhere. So he is at the age where he could go back to a place he's familiar with in the Mansfield ISD School District, a job that is not a 6A, but a job where they've had success before, and on top of that, he's still got years left before he retires, and that's pretty good money at Mansfield ISD.
Yeah, and also he mentioned to us, he's an empty nester, right now.
Yeah, his daughter's at Ole Miss, right?
So his daughter's out, of the
house. Has a couple of years left of college, so I'm sure that you want to make sure you're not looking around next January. If you are looking around, you don't want to be looking around for a job when especially you have a daughter that's going to college. And I think, Jeff's proven himself wherever he's been. But there was more than just a little heat. There was some heat on him at Midway.
Yeah, but when you have, they had the season, they had a good season the year after the state championship run. It was good. It wasn't that, but they didn't have the same people. And then the year after.
They lost to Allen.
Yeah.
After the dramatic win somehow that they won against, was it Klein Oak?
Well, yeah, we were at
College Station, which is one of their best wins ever.
Yeah, that was a crazy game. Yeah. That was an insane
last
game.
year for James.
I think that was the first game after the 7 overtime LSU game.
Yeah, it was because A&M already had plaques and stuff already installed. No kidding. It was a week afterwards. It was a week after. and there's a TV in the elevator at Kyle Field for the press box, and they had the game replaying the entire day on that TV in the elevator, just replaying the LSU A&M game. Like they were obsessing over it. There was like markers and stuff out there. Like you would have thought it just happened the day before. This is
where the last drunk fan passed out on this spot right here before he left.
I was like, I get it. You guys really appreciated that win. I got it. Very clear.
Yeah. It's like if you ever go to like a historical tour of Boston, literally like every step you take, you'd be like, well, this is where this happened, and then like 50 feet down the thing, and then that happened there, and that's probably how they treat the LSU game right now at Kyle Field. But yeah, that was, and then they regressed the years after, and
talking about Midway,
Midway. Midway regressed those years after, but I mean, part of it is, they had just this like wave of like literally 10 classes in a row that were just stacked with, these kids came up from 6th grade together, and these kids came up from 6th grade together, and these kids came up from 6th grade together, and they hit 2 years where that wasn't necessarily the case, and then they changed districts, and it killed them.
Well, and I think that they ran out of luck at quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, they had like 10 years of solid quarterback play, and then all of a sudden they had a complete question mark. And I'm not disparaging the players that were there. What was the young man's name?
Jared Moore was
no. The Klein Oak game was Menez.
Menez
was good, and he got better as the season went along, and he was able to guide them, even though he had some deficiencies. But then once he left, then it really got to be a wild card. Like Jared Moore, I mean, he played wide receiver last year, so like he wasn't even still a quarterback anymore, right? And yeah, I think that played they had a great run of quarterbacks going D1, and then it just ran out.
What they had was they had college athletes playing quarterback back to back to back to back, whether they were football players or baseball players or but whatever they were. They had guys, Kramer Robertson's a professional athlete right now. Tanner Mordecai, is a D1 quarterback. Ben Hicks is a D1 quarterback. They had all these guys back. Sam
Glazeman was a college,
played at Rice. So that Ryan Smith was a D1 baseball player. All these guys right in a row that were D. Look, they had 3.
How many of those teams that they had?
DeAndre Ford played at Kansas.
How many of those teams that they had over that 10 or 11 year stretch where they dominated the district would win 2 out of 3 against Duncanville, DeSoto, and Cedar Hill?
Probably just one.
They beat Duncanville in non-district one year. They never were able to get Cedar Hill, although one year they almost had them. That was Kramer's, I think, senior year. And then, of course, never had played DeSoto that I know of.
I would think probably just the 2017.
I think it'd be like that couple.
They may have gotten one, maybe, on occasion.
I think they could have split at best with those teams in their best year possible. I think they would have split. I think it would have been like when the school that I went to, Tyler Lee, now Tyler Legacy, Robert Lee and Tyler, they played the 4-team district with Lufkin, John Tyler, and Longview, and they all had to play each other twice, home and away, and it was freaking brutal, but it was like the best high school football regular season you've ever seen in your life because 6 games were like bloodbaths, but that was really tough, and so, Lee actually did pretty well, but they kind of split, the home and away with Longview, the home and away with Lufkin. I kind of think it would be like that, but that would be their best team. That's the thing, and we're not even talking about the best Duncanville or the best DeSoto or the best Cedar Hill.
They might have been able to get one. I think it would have been really rare to get more than 2. So even in that stretch from the late 90s or late 2000s until what they are now, of course. And again, that's just one of those things. They were fortunate to be in a district. Killeen ISD is constantly in a flux. Cove is down. Temple, they just own Temple and they own Belton, right? Mm-hmm. And so
now that we scared off every Midway candidate from the next head coaching job.
It's the one thing about it is it's still a one-horse town. There's an AD and there's a head football coach. It's a one-horse town. We'll see, but I think you'll know maybe even earlier, but no later than Monday they will offer a head coaching job, and they will interview what appears to be 4 candidates. I mentioned this on the site, and most people said, okay, goodbye. But it's not a secret. It's not really breaking news, but it's official. Satia Messer is headed to LSU, as I mentioned. She did get an interview with Mack Rhodes. Bill Brock did as well. And so now Nikki Cowan has the one spot left. Satia probably had some other options because he's really good at what she does. But Nikki Cowan with one more hire, and I would think you might see that go down. You would think by the end of the week. And I do not know. Honestly, I do not know whether Bill Brock, the longtime assistant coach, is even in the mix anymore. It seems as if more of the days go by that he is not. No one's told me that, but I would think that would have been the case with that.
I did see that Nikki Collin, I guess, had cookies or something delivered today. That was the latest I saw from the Baylor Lady Bears program, was that some cookies or treats or something were delivered from somewhere, and she seemed to be pretty pumped up about that. She tweeted it out. But, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed talking to Coach Green yesterday, and he seems like he'll be a solid addition. And, I mean, I'm totally not surprised by Snider-Eppers leaving. I mean, I just don't know what took so long, quite frankly, and not anything anti-Baylor in regards to her. It's just that I just didn't foresee her being a part of this staff and sticking around to basically be in the same spot she's been in for the last several years, but under a new head coach who's much younger, and if successful, is not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. She doesn't have that LSU pull that we know of or aware of. So, yeah, I am not surprised at all. I never thought she was probably going to be a part of this staff. So, I guess it's just good that it's official, and good luck to her. I mean, she did great things at Baylor. Good luck to her, absolutely.
The other thing, if I'm Sic'Em365 and I know that I have, a potential to get other things, that my name's out there as one of the best recruiters in women's college basketball now, before I do what most people would do, I would exhaust all my negotiating power, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
I'd wait.
From Arkansas, they of course, the coach Neighbors has done a great job there. They've picked up a few things as well with him. They had a nice team last year, beat Baylor. Remember back in the early part of the schedule before they hit the Big 12 schedule. All right, so we don't do this very often, and I know College Baseball World Series, they now have the Super Regionals getting set. I don't remember. I think I know. Dallas Baptist, did they win the TCU Regional?
Yeah.
That's amazing. They are unbelievable at what they do in baseball. TCU didn't even get to the final of their own Super Regional after winning the regular season, splitting it with Texas, and then winning the tournament. They didn't even get to the game that was the end of the game, the championship elimination game in Dallas Baptist. That is such a great school when it comes to baseball.
Yeah.
Not always, but they have always been in the mix.
The B should stand for baseball, honestly. I mean, because that's all I've ever known them as is a baseball school. I've never known them to be anything but that. The only reason I've ever even heard of DBU is because of baseball. So, yeah, I mean, they're impressive. It's not really surprising, but I guess, who they beat to get there is. TCU not moving on is definitely surprising. And I said it yesterday, but I still wonder how much Jim Schlossnagle and the A&M stuff is maybe in his head.
On that, yeah.
But they had no business exiting as quickly as they did. I mean, none. And that's a big letdown for that baseball program. That's a big-time underachievement. So, we'll see what happens with Schlossnagle. And, maybe TCU's looking for a new head coach. Maybe he sticks around. But I know that if he sticks around, it kind of leaves a sour taste with the way this season ended and just the flirtations, because we obviously know how that can be.
Yep.
It's not fun for the school whose coach is getting flirted with.
Well, if Schlossnagle interviewed and doesn't get the job, first of all, I can't imagine him interviewing at A&M or LSU and them not wanting to hire him. He's proven what he can do at a school with less resources when it comes to baseball because the tuition's higher and it's not a state school and all those different things. But even though they do put a lot towards it, but yeah, you can't go. But that was what happened with Art Briles in Texas was. He can't go interview there and then them decide oh, no, we're going to hire this other big name that popped up and we were just using you to get them, and then come back to Waco and be like, nah, man, I was just kidding.
Which is the only reason why he didn't take the job, and everybody was like, he turned down Texas. Kind of not really, because it really boiled down to him just not doing an in-person interview, and that was not going to vibe with Texas or jive with Texas, and so every time I see that comment, I don't feel the need to respond every time. But for everybody who always used to trumpet he turned down UT, it wasn't quite like that at all. It was more of you're not going to come interview in person? Well, then we're not going to be able to hire you kind of a thing.
Yeah, that was uncomfortable, very awkward. And there's a lot of schools that have to deal with that all of the time. One of the things about Baylor, other than the flux in the football program and the ups and downs of bad hires and then those forced out and then what they've tried to find, and then, of course, a coach who came in and did a really good job in Rule, but then it was looking at the NFL all the time, is that they haven't had to go through a lot of that. They really haven't. And so it's uncomfortable when you are a stepping stone school. Is Baylor a stepping stone school for football?
Well, you know, it really hasn't been other than Matt Rule, right? I mean, like,
well, how many have ever had a chance other than Bryles when Texas was interested? Rule with the NFL. I mean, that's two of the last. That's the last decade, right?
Yeah, but like Coach, I'm sure look, Grant Taft had an opportunity to interview at USC.
Sure, he did,
and didn't do it because he was happy here. And I mean, can you imagine Grant Taft living in L.A.? I don't think he would have been very happy. No. just with all that. But I mean, he's still probably
back in those days. It was still a big ass.
It was still even then. Yeah. Like it's still LA.
Yeah.
You know, one thing, many things I know about Coach Taft is that he's not an LA guy.
No.
I mean,
yeah.
but
I mean, I don't view it as. Go ahead.
Yeah, but anyway, like there's not like outside in football. Taft, Bryles, Rule are the successful ones. You know, Grobe was an interim. Everyone else got fired in disgrace. So there wasn't a stepping stone. Like, it was only a stepping stone if you were stepping down to something. You know?
I think it is, sort of is. I don't know that I'd go all the way in, but, based on recent history, the last two coaches have used it that way. Mm-hmm. Or the last two full-time head coaches, because Bryles, like I just said, would have been at Texas, and Rule went to Carolina. So that's the two most successful guys you've had in here since Grant Taft, right? Mm-hmm. And those are the two most successful, and but one left, and then one would have left if the opportunity was afforded him. Mm-hmm. Which, man, if that would have happened in hindsight, I think the scandal thing and his whole reputation is completely different. Like, it would have all been on Baylor and not so much Art Bryles as the devil, but that's a whole nother thing. So, yeah, I mean, I guess in a way you kind of have to say, I don't know. I guess it kind of can be viewed that way to an extent. I don't think Dave Aranda's looking to step stone anywhere. I think if he has success, I do think he would stick around. But I don't know. He's got to get that success first.
It's not in men's basketball.
No.
And it surely was not in women's basketball. That's not a stepping stone with what Kim was able to do. That was something that was a unique situation. The baseball guys have been lifers, right?
Yeah,
with Steve Smith for the longest of times, and then
Matt Rule is the first coach that's legitimately left for a thing that's better.
Yeah,
and if you look at every other coach in every other sport, they either stay here forever. I mean, look, the Jobsons have been here forever. In soccer, they haven't tried to get the North Carolina job or something like that. The tennis coach. I mean, Matt Knoll was here forever, then in a unique situation, but, bowling out because of some personal things, and then and some bad stuff that happened. And then you have Michael Woodson, who I think who would genuinely, he's been here for a long time, and he wants to stay here for a long time. Todd Harbor's been here forever. Before Ryan McGuire, the volleyball coach was here forever. He was here for a long time. So this is a place where people come and stay.
That's what it's, yeah.
And then you have the things like, Mulkey this year, which is, outside the box, and Rule a couple years ago. But for the most part, they did the Coach Taft thing where people would come and maybe call every. I mean, I'm sure, USC was the biggest one, but I'm sure Taft had a couple other people.
We were talking about TCU with Schlossnagle, and that would be a launching pad from a hell of a baseball program to A&M, which is a bigger, better, faster school. That doesn't mean they're better in baseball. That's why there's an opening, because of what's happened.
That's the Mulkey move. It's not really a step up in any way. I mean, I'm sure TCU to A&M, if that were to happen, maybe the ballpark's a little bit better and maybe he gets a bit more money, but it's not like going from Alcorn State to Notre Dame or anything like that. It's not like some massive jump in any way, shape, or form going from Fort Worth to College Station. They're both Power 5 schools. I know A&M's got more money, but they're also a much, much, much larger institution because they're public. So, maybe that plays into it, but no, that's not really a stepping stone. Mulkey wasn't a stepping stone.
No,
I guess the answer is no outside of Matt Rule, really.
So think about it with Baylor. They've had success. Now, football had their horrible decade and a half. But for the most part, when they get here and they have success here, they stay here, except unique circumstances, whether it's a bad deal or not. TCU's that way with Patterson.
Yeah.
And then obviously now with Schlossnagle, if he ends up staying.
And the thing is, Schlossnagle, the only thing he's going to get, like Craig says, more money, a slightly bigger ballpark, because TCU's baseball park is really nice. So is Bluebell. I mean, it's great, but maybe it's more fan interest, and then the 11.3, whatever it is, 13.1 or whatever the fractional number of scholarships they get will go a little bit further at A&M than they will at TCU.
All right, today we will have the two NFL writers in the 5 o'clock hour. David Hellman, as the Cowboys are in an OTA going on. In fact, it started. John McClain, Houston Chronicle. But Babe Laufenberg joins us today, former Cowboys quarterback, longtime NFL quarterback, but he's also the radio analyst at 4 o'clock on the OTAs. And Suzie Snider-Eppers, still to this day, one of the record holders in many things that Baylor Lady Bears have accomplished over the years. She's going to join us. She is a part of that Texas Sports Hall of Fame banquet that's released. Obviously, Jason Jennings, who we had on the week before, is on that. Robert Griffin III will be inducted at some point down the road. So it's good timing to have her for a couple of different reasons. One, she's on the ballot for the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, probably, honestly, an underdog there. Also, because of the coaching change with Baylor, she was on the video that introduced Nikki Collin, along with Sophia Young, Malcolm, and also Lauren Cox. So she'll join us as well at 3:45 or so today as well. So that's who our lineup is. Craig's off the radar at 4:45. But you kind of have a story that pops or something that's out there that's a speculation. And my question, and some of you do think Baylor is a stepping stone school. One, there's a lot of people who say, oh my God, is it? Is Baylor a stepping stone school? And if they are, give us an example of how and who and when and what happened. 254-339-1122. We'll open the phone lines up. The text line's available. Daniel and Scotty have responded. We'll get to that as well. And this is SicEm365 Radio. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, your home for heavy duty stuff that you build with. Pipe and steel, metal. They are absolute experts when it comes to constructing and also designing and helping you get through the process of metal buildings. And a lot of people are building them, and they are as good as it gets because that's what they do really well. They can also help you, in fact, get through the process, get through the design, make sure you have the right contractor for what you need so it does not become a nightmare of a project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, what I mentioned, steel, pipe, metal. And if you need what they have, and they have what you need, they will deliver it and help you unload it because it's heavy. And they've been in business since 1943. And they continue slowly but surely to build their brand new complex that they're going to have at 12th Street and Loop 340. They've been pouring concrete in between some of the rainstorms. And my God, it may never stop raining, although outside right now it is beautiful. What they've done since 1943 is overcome all of whatever's happened in this world, in the country, economy, or whatever else. And they keep thriving. Locations in Waco and Bryan, pioneerboys.com.
Allen Samuels is celebrating Jeep Freedom Days. It's an exciting time for the Jeep Cherokee and the new Grand Cherokee. Built tough as nails and able to stand up to any challenging off-road trails or city roads, travel with the innovative technology to meet your lifestyle. Jeep, a great SUV. Allen Samuels, the award-winning customer service Central Texas dealer, the best place to get your next SUV. Located at 201 West Loop 340 or visit them online at AllenSamuelsDCJ.com. Allen Samuels is your friend in the car business.
Come by, let's be friends.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel at the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include food, screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Do it today by searching SicEm365 on YouTube.
254-339-1122. Your thoughts, is Baylor, in your opinion, and give us examples of when a stepping stone school? Because if we look at the history, and we just went over a lot of them, that doesn't mean there haven't been coaches that have moved on, but it seems like most of the time they move on because they're not successful and or they're forced to leave. Kim Mulkey to LSU is not a stepping stone. It was a unique opportunity. So 254-339-1122, Art Browse, it was courted by Texas and vice versa. Didn't leave. Matt Rule absolutely left and said pretty much the whole time he was here that the NFL was a goal in life, and he got the opportunity in a huge, massive contract with Carolina. 254-339-1122, that's the number to call.
All right, T-Rex, you're on SicEm365 Radio. Thanks for your call.
Hey, guys. Hope y'all having a good Tuesday. I know it's probably raining just as much down there. Luckily, the sun's shining right now, so we'll take advantage of it here in a couple minutes. This whole talk about stepping stones, I feel like the main example, and you've touched on it a few times now, y'all just mentioned it again, that everyone wants to go back to is Matt Rule. But that's one coach. That's, the exception should never make the rule. And he never lied to us about it. I mean, he was interviewing, like you said, basically, after going 1-11, he was interviewing with the NFL. That was his dream, and by all means, Baylor wasn't ever going to pay him that much money, obviously. So, he never lied about it, and I just don't understand if there are those out there that think that Baylor's a stepping stone, athletic program or athletic department, however you want to put it. I don't know what examples you can provide to prove that argument. Like, y'all mentioned right before the break, all these coaches that have been here for years. We still have coaches that have been here for years. I just don't know why we think that. And even if we were a stepping stone program, then that means that coach was doing something good while they were here to be able to go to the next step. You don't get to take the next step in anything you do unless you're successful. So, if being a stepping stone program brings me a national championship in the fall, then, hey, I'm right here. I'll be the stone. Step all over me because I want a natty. But I just don't know why there's anybody that thinks we're a stepping stone. Anyways, Sic'em Bears, keep up the good work. Shout out to Up Tempo. Yesterday was their 100th episode. Y'all are still better than Drake and JD could ever be. Definitely Paul's a lot prettier than Drake and JD. Sic'em Bears, love to hear y'all's feedback. Anybody else got anything to say about it? But I just don't know how we're a stepping stone.
Thank you,
but like
T-Rex.
I said, if it brings us to the natty, then step all over me.
Appreciate the time. No one specifically sent a text or brought that up. I'm the one that did, based on that there are a lot of schools that are smaller or private schools or smaller schools that are. And I think the perception, if I was to put this up on Twitter, if I put that question up on Twitter, I guarantee you 75% of the people would react just because of the size of Baylor And then I would ask them at the same time to give me an example, and it would be ... Because as we've made it clear, Grant Taft was, Southern Cal absolutely wanted to go, hey, come out here. Didn't work out. He stayed at Baylor. Art Briles had Texas. Didn't work out. Matt Rule had the NFL. That worked out. And like I said, it's 32 of those jobs in America and the world. But for the most part, they're not. Although there was always that Art Briles might leave, you don't really hear that with Gary Patterson. You kind of had seen Gundy on occasion. He's kind of, thrown it out there that he might be disappointed or unhappy or whatever, and has at least put his name in the mix on occasion. That might be as much his agent as anybody else.
Well, first of all, Gary Patterson has everything he'd ever want, and he can say or do anything he wants.
But so do the coaches at Baylor.
TCU. Well, you said nobody comes after him, but, he does that, and then, his personality is also not one that people are going to court.
I could put up with a personality if he's going to be really, really good. I don't think he would definitely not be able to coach in the NFL.
No, he gets his feelings hurt too easily.
There's a lot of college coaches that have that kind of that mentality.
Yeah.
Briles was a little tender.
Oh, come on though. Gary's like the most ridiculous when it comes to that.
Oh, no,
every loss in the post game, it's like they were watching our practices or they were doing, it's always something with him. He's a big whiny baby.
Yeah, Ahmad Dixon hurt my feelings.
Yeah,
come on. That's. Yeah,
he loves to take a shot when it's when he gets a chance to. Let's go down south. Meanwhile, Casey Pajas peddling drugs on campus, but whatever, glass houses and all that. GP.
Yeah.
Garland Bear 84. I don't think there are many examples, and I agree. Our first great track coach, Patterson, left for UT. Our soccer coach, who led us to a Big 12, left for Notre Dame. That's it. But I guarantee you the national, not that we care, but it does bring into play a conversation. The national perception would be yes, and then name them, and you can't.
Well, I think the bigger question is, okay, if that's a national perception, which I don't think that's held by everybody, but probably, we know how the Ohio States and the Oklahomas of the world are treated. They are treated a little bit differently. They get more mulligans than the small schools do because the media treats them that way. But I think the bigger question would be, okay, if you are, which I don't think they are, but if you are, then how do you change that? Well, how about go win a men's basketball national championship?
There you go.
Hey, there you go. It's all all it comes down to is winning. It's very simple. Mm-hmm. It's all about winning. The money aspect, that comes when you win. It still might come even when you're not winning, but when you win, I guarantee you the money's going up. The facilities, guess what? When you win, they get better automatically. The recruits, they get better automatically. So, that's what it boils down to is winning. And so, how do you stop being a stepping stone? Well, you win big titles, and they won one. Now I think the only missing piece for Baylor right now is a little bit of consistency in a couple of sports that have struggled over the last couple of years. Like softball, it would be good to see them get back on track and be competing with the Oklahomas and the Oklahoma States and the Texases who are all dominating the softball in the Big 12. But outside of programs who have had success in the past and maybe haven't had it the last couple of years, like baseball missing, the postseason's not great. But go out and win, and most of all, have some stability in football. Because they have not had stability in football. Even when Matt Rule's here, they weren't stable all the way. They have not had stability since 2015, early on in the season. We're in 2021 right now. It's been 6 years of instability.
No, you're right.
So
yeah.
Any weaknesses, any chinks in the armor, anything like that Baylor Athletics has, it's not being a stepping stone. It's just they need to get some consistency primarily in football.
How about how much did the men's basketball championship, when there will be down the road, whether it's in 2, 3, 5, or 9 years, you always get that fear. I get this from Baylor fans a lot about the possibility of the next super realignment. How much does that men's basketball championship come into play?
Yeah.
Because most of the time we think of only football.
I'm sure that one day a super realignment's going to come, but to me, it's also it's
how much, if in fact there's any kind of realignment, which
it helps.
We never thought there would be any in the first place. How much does that help at all?
I think it helps.
Yeah, but I think at the same time, you're asking a question of people who we have no idea what their method of thinking is. So for all the pro Super League people, Baylor's out. Baylor could win 5 football national titles in a row, and they're probably still not getting invited. Like, that's the thing. That's where they are. If stepping stone's not the right word, but a smaller school, yes. So I think it's the country club. They're not a part of the country club. So you got to either find membership, which is winning football national titles basically, or multiple men's basketball national titles. And there's really the only 2 ways to do it. Or you just hope you're lucky because you're not on the invite list, the immediate invite list.
When we come, we got a call. We're going to have Suzie Snider-Eppers, join us in the next segment. Babe Laufenberg in 4.
All right, Mark in Chattanooga. You're on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, y'all. How y'all doing today?
Doing good.
I'm good.
Good. Listen, of course, I think Baylor's not a stepping stone school. It's one of the premier programs for any Christian coach to come coach at. You can lead out in your faith in Jesus and find you won't be able to do that other places. I mean, there are some places like Clemson with Dabo Swinney where he can lead out in his faith, and I think that's great. But you look at, what Scott Drew's done and with the Jesus, others, yourself, and the playing with joy, and I just don't think you can do that at many other schools. Like even TCU, I don't really think they do that at all. So I think Baylor's a stable school though and has stable programs. I mean, Scott Drew's been here for a long time. Kim Mulkey was here for a long time. I know she just left, but, that was an extenuating circumstance. And even Steve Smith in baseball was here for a long time. I got 2 quick things to ask you guys. One, I want to ask about the Baylor offensive line. It seemed last season the offensive line struggled with Wickline at the helm. Was this strictly a coaching issue, or is it due to the fact that they didn't have a good offensive line scheme last season for the linemen, you think?
I think it was talent and it was coaching together. I mean, I think the talent wasn't that deep. I don't think, and you saw that, and they're the first group that got hit with COVID, and who knows how much that affected, guys down the line and not really getting back to full strength. So yeah, I do think that
What was the last time they were good in the offensive line?
It's been a couple years.
When was Randy Clements?
Randy Clements in 16, and even that year, of course, blew up a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's a great question and a great point, Mark. I do think that maybe Joe Wickline was just not a bad fit. No, it was not a good fit. I don't know why. It's not like he's been around the other places as well. Man, their offensive line has been an issue. Even the 11-3 team struggled at times on the offensive line. I do think, though, that they just still don't have enough dogs. I'm talking meat grinders, and maybe that's what Eric Mateos and company's trying to fix.
Well, when Matt Rule came in, he had to throw a lot of offers out and just try and fill the roster. And this past national championship in FCS, there were 3 Baylor offensive linemen on the Sam Houston roster that were Matt Rule recruits. So there's 3 players that should be on your O-line and be like sophomores, juniors with experience that aren't even on your roster. So that hurt your depth. Then you have young guys who you're throwing to the fire basically because now they have to be a part of the depth rather than when you had it the way it's supposed to be, where unless you're some 5-star stud, 4-star true freshman that's just you can't keep them off the field, you redshirt those guys. And they've been able to kind of do that, but then again, kind of not. Because injuries come into play. So I think it's a combination of misses in recruiting. I think it's a lack of talent overall. Connor Galvin's good, but Xavier Newman's not nearly the player that we thought he would be at this stage in his career 5 years in. And a lot of other guys are just kind of okay. So lack of talent, lack of consistency. I think coaching with Wickline came into play somewhat, but I just think the coaching on the offensive side last year in general with Fedora was just poor to begin with. So I don't know how much of a chance they really had offensively last year. So it's a combination of things. It's nothing that can't be fixed, but it is going to take some time.
All right, good stuff. Thank you. Gary gone from Chattanooga?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I know you had a follow-up.
Thanks, Gary.
Gary, if you want to text us. Mark in Chattanooga. If you want to text us, 254-339-1122. We'll respond to that. Suzie Snider-Eppers, one of the greats in Lady Bears history, will join us. Babe Laufenberg as well. We continue with SicEm365 Radio.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa draft, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Travel is back. Hit the road with big savings during the summer savings event at Richard Carr. The road is waiting. Explore America again in the space, safety, and luxury of a Buick SUV. And during the Richard Carr summer savings event, current Buick or GMC owners get 16% off a new 2021 Buick Encore, 13% on Encore GX, 9% on midsize Buick Envision, or 13% on a full-size Buick Enclave. Summer travel is back at the summer savings event going on now at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The SicEm365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
3:48 is the time. Suzie Snider-Eppers, one of the greats in the history of a program that is filled with greats. Lady Bears history joins us on SicEm365 Radio. You obviously, it's been a while since the transition from Kim to LSU, and also Nikki Collin now at Baylor. She's got her staff pretty much set. Still one more full-time hire to make. Suzie, have you talked to Nikki at all, much at all, or your thoughts about her as the new head coach?
No. First, thanks for having me on your show. I'm excited to be here. I have not talked to Nikki, and I've just kind of followed through the media her acceptance and her progress. But I'm really excited for her. I know this is a new challenge, and it sounds like she's going to bring a lot to the table. And Kim did a lot for our program, and we've been blessed to have her. But I'm really looking forward to this new season and see what Coach Collin can bring to the table.
With what has been built here at Baylor, it's in a way, I guess it's easier to step into a place that has a lot of talent, but isn't it also pretty challenging too? I mean, maybe harder than anything?
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, I kind of felt bad for whoever was going to take this job, because I think those were really The expectations are high, but it takes a special person to do that, and someone that believes in what they do. And it sounds like she has the passion and the love for the game, and strengths are in her relationships with her players and the people that she surrounds herself with. Not to mention just coaching ability. So, I think there's a lot of things. There probably is pressure, probably more pressure, self-induced pressure, as well as community. But I think she's going to be fine. It seems like she's got the makeup of a winner.
What is it like for you? And I be careful the way I say this so many years later, but what is it like to still own the records for what you did and accomplished at Baylor and all the great players they've had, some that have started 4 years, and you are still right there at the top?
I'm very proud of that. I am amazed. At the time, it was a matter of just going out and playing every game, playing hard, and so not really thinking about what I was actually achieving at that point, or even that our team was achieving and what we were doing in the whole history of the game at Baylor. But it is exciting to still be there. And, I know things are different. I'm not foolish to compare me with players of today in the sense that we didn't have a lot of the surrounding benefits that these players have. And, wish we had, because I love workout as much as playing, but we didn't have those things, so it's kind of hard. And I'll be honest with you, we didn't even have video, so I've never seen myself play. The only things I know about me as a player are what people have told me that have seen me play.
Yeah, so there's no video? There's not even black and white reel-to-reel?
I have not seen anything, and I know that we did not tape anything, and so no, not that I'm aware of.
That's unbelievable. I thought there would be something, and you can, and that's too bad, because that's one of the historical perspectives because of what you did and what you accomplished at Baylor as well. The 3-point line is going back again. I believe they're going to move it back to 22 feet 1 3/4 inches. Beginning this upcoming season. It's getting further and further away. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I'm excited for that. And watching, I followed the NCAA games throughout the year, the college game. And, I thought there were a lot of kids that were really shooting pretty far off the line to begin with. But I think that's a challenge. And I think it's good for the game to have new challenges. We played... Back in the day when I played, we played with a boys-sized basketball, or the men's-sized basketball, and it's gone to the smaller ball, which I thought was a good thing. I thought it helped a lot with accuracy, but it'll be a challenge. I mean, you always have things that you need to reach for, so that'll be a good thing. It'll be really worth a 3-point.
Your thoughts about where women's basketball is? It seems like it's getting better. There are still challenges. Title IX was able to help some things along the way, but there were a few things that happened to the tournament, the way it was set up, the amenities, etc. Do you feel like that women's basketball is getting enough respect?
Well, you're talking to someone that played through Title IX, it's through its beginning. So I lived that part where that respect was not always there. I hated to hear that because I thought it was a step backwards. There's not a reason why the women should not expect to have the same amenities that the men do. And, the game now is on a much more level playing field. And it's a shame that happened, because I did feel bad, and I felt like that was a step back.
Coach Collins' offense, not that they didn't have some people at times that could shoot the three for Baylor during the time that Kim was the head coach over the years, but it seems as if it's going to be different. They will still have the greatness inside with Nalissa Smith, Queen Egbo, and whoever else they might add along the way between now and the school that starts back up in the fall. But it does appear to be even more, not so much up-tempo, but more of the perimeter game. As someone like yourself that scored so many different ways, what are your thoughts about how that transitions to Baylor?
Well, having been a player and a coach, I think it's really important to have a balance of inside-outside. It's awful hard to defend and I would imagine in the college game where the talent level is so high, it's so hard to defend both sides of that offense. So, I think that's a good thing. I have no problem with that. I love up tempo. I think, everyone loves to see baskets scored, whether it's running or shooting threes or hitting the inside putback or just a 2-point shot. But I think that's a good thing. You can't concentrate to defend in one area.
Suzie, in reading a bit about you before the interview today, I stumbled across something that I had no idea about that was really interesting. When you were at Robinson High School, you played 3-on-3 the entire time. You guys could not cross midcourt, and that was all this just stupid way of thinking that, women couldn't handle it. So you eventually get to go play 5-on-5 at Baylor. Like, what was that? Had you had a lot of experience playing 5-on-5 prior to that, or was that like a whole new world? All of a sudden, there's 4 more people on the court at one time.
It was a whole new world. At Robinson, Coach Bradley, my high school coach, he would bring in, occasionally we would have exhibition games by college teams. And at that time, they were playing full court, but they were playing with a rover. So their full court would be that they actually played 6-man ball, but they had 2 people, one on each team, that could run the full court.
Huh.
So you could play offense and defense. You had to designate who that was. You could cross the half-court line. So I was exposed to it, never played it, but fortunately for me, I was on the offensive end, and we would press. As soon as we would score, we would press, even though it was from the end line to the half-court line. So I had a really good idea of how to play defense, not necessarily, in the paint defense, but I knew how to play one-on-one defense. So that was a plus for me. I always felt bad for the kids that came to play at Baylor when they had played on the defensive end, because when you come in and you're trying to learn how to shoot and you've been playing for several years, it's just not easy to step up there at that level and learn how to shoot. So you become more of a role player. The strong athlete could do it, but the average athlete had a hard time converting then to becoming a shooter. They became more of a putback rebounder or really more of a defensive or a ball handling player.
That, when you put...
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It was great when I came to Baylor. I love the full court game because I sat in the state tournament in the final game where we lost the championship. I sat at the half court line. Our defense was having a hard time getting the ball against Spearman at that time, and I can remember sitting there and not being able to do anything about it. And that was hard. So I love the full court game. I love running the court. I love rebounding. I love defense. Loved offense. It offered so much more for me as a player.
I didn't even think much about this on the 3-on-3, and I remember covering some of that back in the day because of when I started covering girls basketball. But yeah, there you could still play both offense and defense. It just depends on which side of the court you were on. And I would think that the better players, am I right, Suzie, that if you were a coach, the better players back in the day, you would want them on offense because that means they got to play both?
Well, I never really had really thought about it because I also played on my high school team at Robinson. We went to the state tournament 3 times and won it one of the 3 times. Probably should have won it all 3 times with the talent that we had. I can remember everyone was strong on our team. I never really thought about that, but I do, because I think we had strong players on our defensive end that I really respected and admired, and had wondered what that would be like to play defense at that level, even in high school. So, maybe that was a strategy because when I got out to coaching, we were already to the full court game. So I really didn't have that opportunity to try to place players to determine. I don't know if you looked at who the better shooters were. I'm not real sure on that.
One, you got. I know you got to go. You have a grandson who's getting ready to play. Is that right? Get to go watch him. How is that pressure, or is that more pressure than having to shoot a last-second free throw?
No, I've become a lot better spectator, and I will tell you, I'd rather step out there on that court any day at this time. But No, I can go and enjoy that now and be real excited for him and be happy that he's doing so well.
Well, good luck with that. Good luck to him, and thanks for your time, Suzie. We appreciate it.
Okay, no problem. Thanks to you guys.
Suzie Snider-Eppers, she still has the all-time lead in points scored. Think about all the great players, some of the 4 years. Griner, Odyssey Sims, among others.
Her and Griner are the only ones with over 3,000 points in school history, which is crazy to think, because you would have thought that, Nina Davis played so much and, was typically their leading scorer at times, or Odyssey Sims, or, there's a lot of names. Some of them you may think scored more than they did, but, she's still the all-time leading scorer, only one of two with 3,000-plus points. So very cool, very cool.
Got some more responses on the stepping stone question on the site. We'll get to that a little bit later on. But coming up next, Cowboys have an OTA. This is one of those mandatory stretches. And Babe Laufenberg brings his expertise next on SicEm365 Radio.
Lance Donaldson, a local realtor with a unique perspective. That's how he describes himself, and that's very true. So if you're looking to sell a home or buy a home, then you need to call my good friend Lance, 254-214-3713. Look, it's a crazy market right now. You need someone who can help you navigate that crazy market, and Lance Donaldson is that guy. 254-214-3713 is the number. You're going to love looking at houses with Lance. He's a fun dude to hang out with. He's a fun guy to talk to. Believe me, you're going to get the most out of your home buying or home selling or both experience. Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty. Again, 254-214-3713 or online at lancedonaldson.exprealty.com.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday Friday after 2 or all day Saturday and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house-cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasonings, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Kispert now driving and rejected, and Baylor's on a break. Smart move here, little delay. Wagler, splash, Schiller.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
We start this 4 o'clock hour. Cowboys have their OTAs mandatory, and they continue on, and it's more of real life when it comes to football in the offseason. Babe Laufenberg, Cowboys radio analyst, joins us on SicEm365. He's been here with us many times. We do appreciate it. Babe, it seems as if that it's Garrett Gilbert as the backup, and are there any other options in your opinion? And if there is that option maybe on somebody else's roster or unemployed right now?
Well, if you're talking about unemployed, I'm 61, Troy is 55, and Roger is 79. So those options are off the table. It's funny because they're probably there's always a couple of veteran guys that get released, either before camp or during camp, and I could see that happening. I tell you, I was impressed with Gilbert last year. I would say, in answer to your question, I would say he would be my front runner for sure. But I was impressed with the way he played against Pittsburgh. Was not here, obviously, for training camp, was not here the start of the season. So to go out and play as well as he did against what was then the number one ranked defense in the NFL was tremendous. And I actually caught a bunch of his games in the spring. Don't ask me why, but I happened to just watch a bunch of the spring games, and not knowing that he would be coming to the Cowboys, but I just thought, boy, that guy's playing well, looks good. And here he came to the Cowboys, and again, so I would not be against and starting the season with him as my backup quarterback. But as you say, there's always a veteran guy that's out there that gets released, and we'll just see where that goes.
Babe, I know this is a wild assumption based on how the injuries went down last year, but assuming that the Cowboys can stay relatively healthy all year on offense, they're going to score a bunch of points. You would think that.
Yes.
The defense, though, then, does not have to go from the worst to the first. They just have to go to passable for this to be a team that can win, right?
Yes, I would agree with that. And it's pretty rare nowadays that you've got a team that's dominant on both sides of the ball. I think those days are behind us. You're going to be good on one side or the other. Well, let me rephrase that. You're going to be really good on one side or the other, and then you're going to be good enough on the other side to kind of get by. What I do like is, people will say, well, it can't get any worse than last year. And my answer to that is, why can't it? Why not?
Let's not tempt fate.
Well, and I know they drafted, first 6 draft picks obviously went to defense. Top pick, Mike Parsons, went to defense. So they definitely, it was pretty obvious they needed to improve the defense and improve it in a big way. But just because they drafted them, I always say there's 2 parts to the draft, right? You say you got to draft the people you want, which we assume everybody does, and then you got to hope they turn out to be the players you thought they were when you drafted them. And as we well know, half of these guys are the first 6 are not going to be players. If you can get 4 of them to be players, that's great. If you can get a stud out of one of them, that's great. But it's funny, getting back to why can't it get worse? The pastor at my church, it was on Zoom because it was December of last year, and obviously nobody was getting together for services. But he said, again, this was December last year, he said, hey, everybody is just looking forward to 2021. Man, can't wait to get 2020 behind us. And there's a lot of truth to that, right? But he said, just because it's 2021 doesn't mean your problems disappear. And that's the way I look at the defense, right? It's like, well, It's not 2020. It can't be any worse. And you say, well, why can't it? So, I mean, obviously you're hopeful defensively, but there's a lot of question marks. You're counting on Kelvin Joseph, who has missed camp, by the way, to be your starting corner opposite Trayvon Diggs. You're counting on a linebacker that didn't play last year, opted out for COVID, in Micah Parsons. And I don't know, there's just a lot of things defensively where you just kind of keep your fingers crossed right now.
Babe, what are your early takeaways, impressions, or just thoughts on Micah Parsons? I know that, obviously the real action's yet to take place, but It seems he's been earning rave reviews so far and making a difference in the best way that he can. So what are your thoughts on the first-round pick?
First thing that stands out to you, obviously, is the man can run. I mean, when that ball goes to the sideline on a sweep or quick screen or whatever it is, man, when he takes off, there's a reason why he was taken up there, right, at number 12. But again, like you say, the whole thing to linebackers, can you get guys to the ground? It's like running backs. I remember Emmitt Smith came in, and I was on the team at the time, and it was my 8th year in the league. And here came Emmitt, and there was nothing exceptional about him where you looked at it and said, oh my goodness, look at his size, or look at his speed. Wow, look how quick that guy is. And I played with, at some point in my career, all those kind of guys. Remember Joe Washington by chance, the former Oklahoma back? I mean, played with him, and I felt like I should get a completion just by being able to hand the ball off to him on outside runs because he was so quick getting out of his stance. But what made Emmitt exceptional, which he clearly was, you couldn't get him to the ground. But you didn't know that until the pads came on, right? So Micah Parsons, while he looks great, he can run, and he's certainly supposed to be this guy. We'll see what happens when the pad comes on.
Yeah, and, he does seem to be very athletic. He seems to be explosive. He also seems to have that cockiness that you would think that a lot of Cowboys players have as well. Does he have that little edge to him, or is that just fake confidence?
Well, I love the fake confidence. I don't know, because honestly, I just haven't been around him long enough. And you see some guys come in and they're quiet and they're humble, and then they're animals. And you see other guys come in and they tell you how they're going to set the world on fire, and the only thing that gets set on fire is their rear end because they're on the bench the whole time. Mm-hmm. So it takes a while to really see that. I do remember there's a couple of guys that kind of stand out to me. Dak Prescott being one of them. I always go up in pre-COVID days, be in the locker room. He'd just been drafted. They're in mini camp or whatever they're in, OTAs. And I just went up and introduced myself, said, hey, I'm Babe Walkmer. I do the Cowboys radio, and you'll be seeing me around here a while. And you just talking to him first he said, I'm not going to call another grown man Babe. So, and then he got over it, though, because down the road I said, hey, Zach, remember when you thought if you called me Babe, we're going to have to date or something? But he got used to that. But anyway, you walked away from that thing and said, well, that guy's, I didn't sit there and say, wow, he's going to be a top flight quarterback. I just said, guy's got something to him. Guy's kind of impressive. But then you get a guy like Tyron Smith who doesn't say but about 10 words. And he turned out to be pretty good too. So it's just, I just think it's always hard to judge what a guy is going to do just based on, hey, he's a good interview, or he's this, or, very, very loquacious or very eloquent in his speech. And it's like, that's great, but can he play? And the other guy is Sean Lee. Sean Lee, I thought, man, they drafted a damn Boy Scout. Mm-hmm. This guy. I mean, and then you find out he's the toughest guy out there when he goes on the field. But as you know, Smoak, you're out there covering him, and there's not a nicer guy in the world until you put the helmet on.
Yeah, then it becomes an animal, no question about it.
I remember, I got a quick Sean Lee story to tell you. I'm out in training camp, and a couple of years ago, so he'd been playing, his 8th, 9th year, whatever it was. And we're doing a little walk and talk, and for an interview. And I said, when did you know, this football thing was for you? And he said, I was 9 years old, and he said, I hit this kid so hard. And I said, I got up, and I like that. So at 9, when you're smacking a kid and you say, I like that. And I said, well, as much as you liked it, my guess is that kid went home and said, I'm quitting football.
Yeah.
I do not like this.
That was it for him.
I do not like this game.
Yeah, mama, right? Babe Lockenberg, Cowboys radio analyst with us on SicEm365 Radio.
Babe, did you run across Jim Fossil much in your career? I mean, I know that you didn't, like, probably were on the same roster coaching and playing, but did you run across Jim Fossil much?
Well, it's funny you mentioned him. I was at Stanford my freshman year. Bill Walsh was the head coach. Bill Walsh leaves to go to the 49ers after my freshman year. And the next year, and I guess in the spring as well, Jim Fossil came in. He was a quarterback's coach. Rod Dowhauer, who you probably don't remember the name, but Rod Dowhauer became the head coach. It was only there for a year at Stanford after he left. So I had Coach Fossil through the spring of my freshman year, and then I went back to training camp or fall camp for about 3 weeks, and there was a guy named John Elway that it didn't take him long to move past me. So I left Stanford at that point. But, so I had played for Coach Fossil a little bit there at Stanford. So I knew him, yes.
Rod Dowhauer, I do remember. Of course, I'm 62, so I do remember that name. Yeah, he's one of those guys back in the day that was known for what he could do with the passing game and quarterback play as well.
Yeah, and I believe he ultimately became a head coach at Indianapolis for a year or two. But, so anyway, Coach Fossil was a quarterback coach, so I did know him.
This Cowboys drought, Babe, that is now no longer just 5 years or 8 years or 12 years. We know it's been a quarter of a century, when I put it that way.
Right.
How does that, how for someone that saw the run they were about to make, for someone who's experienced that yourself as a player with an NFL team, is that hard to fathom? It's been now 26 years.
It really is, especially because Cowboys ownership, they put money into the thing, right? Some places it's hard to win because they don't want to pay anybody. That's not the case here. Some places it's hard to win because players just don't want to go play there. That's not the case here. They get guys in free agency that will sign for less here, not a lot less, mind you, but they want to be a Cowboy. How many times have you seen a kid drafted, Micah Parsons now being the latest, right? Drafted or in a free agent saying, Dallas Cowboys are my team, or Dallas Cowboys are my dad's team. And so you've kind of got a built-in advantage. But it just, obviously it hasn't been. And they've had good teams. It's not like, I don't know. You can't fill in the blank. You used to be able to say it's not like Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay just won the Super Bowl. But they've had good, they went 13-3 in 2 of those years and had home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They got beat by the Giants the year the Giants went to the Super Bowl. Obviously, they got beat by Green Bay in Dak's rookie season. So it's not like they haven't had good teams, and you could call them great teams, but they just haven't been able to, for whatever reason, get by in the playoffs. Haven't got out of the divisional round, as you said. And just the law of averages tells you got 16 teams in the NFC. Once every 16 years, you should win the NFC. And once every 8 years, you should be in the NFC Championship game. Well, they've done neither for, as you said, 26 years. That's hard to do.
Babe, I think the only thing in sports I can really recall and like compare it to fairly would be with ownership that cares as much as they do and not being successful for a long stretch would be the Yankees between, I guess, was it 78 that they won the World Series, right, and then again in 96. So, or not, whenever that was, 95, 96.
Right.
So, like, you have ownership that cares, and, like, sometimes the caring is maybe not channeled in the right direction, but you cannot say Jerry Jones doesn't care. Like, all he wants to do is win. He just hasn't found the formula yet, and it's hard to figure how he hasn't yet.
Yeah, and it would be interesting if you sat in internal meetings. I mean, if I were there, I would say, hey, let's look at this, okay? You can dismiss a year, right? Any particular year. Take last year. Hey, new head coach, we had COVID, all these injuries, understand all that. But for 25 years, there has to be some common thread running through things that hasn't allowed you to do what you've wanted to do. I don't know what that thread is, but I'd pay good money to have somebody come in and say, hey, analyze everything we're doing here and tell us where we're going wrong.
Have you ever been told anything you've said on a radio broadcast with the Cowboys that you shouldn't say?
No, and I've always said Now, we've had a couple instances where they did not want us to bring up certain things, and then I understand that. And I've always said it's not talk radio. It's not my job broadcasting the game, to get personal or to say, oh, that's the worst throw I've ever seen in the history of the NFL. That's just not my thing. But I always say we have not been told, hey, don't talk bad, make it sound better. I know the defense isn't playing great, make it sound a little better. Never been told that. Now, I always say there's two things can come into play. Either A, they understand you're just being honest and you're going to do the football game, or B, they just don't listen.
Yeah.
so on the one hand, you say, hey, they're great. They've never said anything to me. And on the other, it's like, oh, because they've never heard you. So I guess every once in a while it would be good if somebody came up and said, hey, they heard you say this and they don't want, oh, great, they're listening.
No,
it's like how when I worked at the television station there, Paul and Smoak, for CBS 11 here, we'd get a new news director every, 3-4 years, new general manager, new news director would come in with new ideas and all this. And on the one hand, we used to always bang the drum to be recognized and get more time and all that. Cause you always, it's like news and weather. And then, oh yeah, you guys are doing that little sports thing for 3 minutes. Right? Important to us, not as important to them. But the beauty of that was when we got a new news director and they wanted to shake things up, the sports was never touched. They just, whatever you guys are doing, just keep doing it.
Yeah.
So at times it's good to be put in the corner and just, whatever you guys just sit over there and do your thing.
Just fill those 3 minutes. Babe Laufenberg, SicEm365 Radio with us. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, David Smoak as well. I always have thought this, though, and it's not so much in a major market. Maybe at times when you were covering major events, whether it's the Cowboys or the Mavericks or something big in sports, they would always say you would only have this much time. Sundays a little bit more. But when something big happened, when a championship, a parade, isn't that when the news department all of a sudden wanted to get involved?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. We did the Mavericks championship parade, and I was with two of our news anchors who I love very much. But when you're just sitting there doing a parade like that, and here comes somebody, and all of a sudden there's a player on the screen, they don't know who he is, nor should they. So you had to really step in and do a lot of the work for that parade. But yeah, that happens a lot. But it's funny. I have covered, I was up in Buffalo when the Stars won the Stanley Cup and we were in the locker room after and did like an hour special. And that was a lot of fun. And was down there in Miami when the Mavericks won the NBA championship in 2011. Unfortunately, I never saw a World Series win, but I was at the World Series, obviously, when the Rangers were out San Francisco. And gosh, as you well know, those are so much fun when you get to those things. I mean, I sit there and go, wow, they're paying me to do this. I will tell you a quick story. We're in New York. You'll appreciate this. We're in New York. Rangers are playing the Yankees. Gosh, right around 99, I think. Right when the Rangers couldn't even score a run against the Yankees. But we get up there and we do a live shot, right? We're doing our 6 o'clock news from the field at Yankee Stadium, the old Yankee Stadium. And I'm like, wow, this is really special. And the next day we were doing the live shot from outside of Yankee Stadium because it's a union town. And there was a guy over there. We could run. We had to pay one guy $1,000 to take the cable from the camera to the box where they plugged it in. And then there was another electrician just sat there. He picked up the cable, just put a plug in, right? Boom, boom. That's 1,000. That's 1,000. That's 1,000. That's 1,000. So
wow.
Our TV station said, we're going to be outside the stadium tomorrow.
Yeah, no question. That's, you were a part of the broadcast, I guess, this past season where you stayed at home. Do you know yet whether you guys will travel? Has that been opened up like a lot of things?
We do not know. I could kind of see it going either way. We've always traveled with the team on the charter. Mm-hmm. So do we travel on the charter? I'm not sure. I'm vaccinated. Brad is. Christy is. We've all been vaccinated. I don't know what the league protocol is going to be. I don't know what the Cowboys protocol. So we possibly could be doing it again. I know the Rangers are not traveling. Their broadcast team is working from the stadium, at least radio broadcast. I'm quite honestly, I'm not sure about the TV. On road games, they're at Globe Life. So, you know what's funny about all that, guys? I just sit there and go, somebody's going to tell us where to go. You know, I know we've got the opener. Again, well, really the opener is against Pittsburgh in the preseason, obviously, the Hall of Fame game. So we're going to go, and that week somebody's going to say, okay, you guys are on the charter, you're not on the charter, you're doing it from blank.
Yeah.
Well, at least maybe, I mean, you did seem to enjoy not having to wear the suit every week when just you and Brad and Ted and, you know, we're there, you know, just there. You know,
well, I remember I believe it was the second game of the year against the Rams. They played out there Sunday night, and you know, we finished the game here at like 11 o'clock. Ordinarily, you'd be getting back at 3 in the morning. You're going to bed at 5. You're blah blah blah. And I just, wow. 30 minutes later, I'm in my bed. And that was different.
Hey, what was the parking? What was the parking situation like? Did you just get to like pull right up to by the door? Oh.
I felt like I owned the damn keys.
Yeah.
Nope. Pulled right up underneath, got out. The other funny thing was, though, that Rams game, which, again, I believe that was the second game of the year. I believe they opened at home, if I'm not mistaken. I should know this. But anyway, that was a night game. So when we came into the stadium, and we still got there about 2 hours before. Excuse me, that was the opener. That Rams game was the opener for the season. Yeah, and it was the Sunday night game. Anyway, we get there, and it's 3 p.m, whatever it is, and all of a sudden we're in the stadium. We're literally the only people in the building, other than maybe some maintenance people or whatever. But everything was dark except for our booth.
Wow.
But it was kind of almost eerie being in the booth doing the game, because I couldn't tell you the number of times, guys, that as they get ready, they break the huddle, and we're watching it off the monitors, where I go out to look on the field. And of course, there's nothing out there, but you know, it's the first time you've ever not been at the game doing the game. And I'd sit there, look at the field, I said, oh, wait a minute, nothing's going on down there.
Isn't that great? That's just, I don't know. I never had to do that. And I know that had to be very, very difficult. And at the same time, you get used to it like anything else. Babe, I always bring up your son, Luke, because of what he did to inspire what might be millions of people, and also how you have told the story along the way. Did you ever, in your mind, ever expect the kind of respect and the inspiration that he gave so many people?
In a word, no. I can't tell you the number of, and we may have talked about this, number of times I've gotten a text or a direct message or whatever you do in today's modern technology world, where somebody has said, man, they were having a tough time. And matter of fact, I've had a couple talk about suicide. And they said they looked at what Luke went through and what he did, and it just pulled him out. And they'll see some of my posts about him, and they'll say, I just told myself Luke wouldn't have done this. And it's been pretty overwhelming from that standpoint. And I will tell you, last week, 2 weeks ago, we had a coffee fundraiser, because that's what we did. So if you go to my Twitter, @BabeLaufenberg, you'll see some of the photos. But Dirk Nowitzki was there, Troy, Roger, Daryl Johnston, Mark McLemore, former Ranger, Marty Turco, Jason Witten. So a bunch of people came, and it was a really tremendous event. What the neat thing about it was, I thought I was going to ask like 30 athletes, right? And hope 5 would come. So I started with these guys, and then I was going to branch out as guys dropped out or couldn't go or whatnot, which would be totally understandable. Every one of them came back. It wasn't 2 seconds after I sent the text to them that he came back, count me in, just tell me what you need. So when you go and you look at the photo, again, it's @BabeLaufenberg on Twitter. You'll see the guys up there, and to a man, they just, boom, I'm in.
That's
so
awesome.
It was a really neat event. And then we obviously had some people that came and spent money to be there. And we raised about $50,000 for his nutrition station that they're building at UTEP in his honor. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Who is the one who's now the rebel and not showing up for these get-togethers? Is it Garrett or is it Aikman?
Well, I have a little, I'm glad you watched that, Smoak, but I have a little fun with it. Troy and I were this past weekend. Now, Garrett had a good excuse. You know, he had a draft that they had, so he had to stay in New York. So obviously he's in New York as a Giants offensive coordinator, but he'd been kind of coming home on weekends, still has a house here. His wife is here. So he was coming home weekends and then we'd hook up. So everybody kind of missed a couple, but believe me, when you couldn't go, you heard it from the other two.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, hey, you're bailing on us. We're not sure we're letting you back in, but we had great fun. We had great fun.
Babe, thank you as always. Appreciate your time. That's Babe Laufenberg, Cowboys radio analyst with us, SicEm365. We'll come back, a couple of notes, and then also Craig's off the radar, SicEm365 Radio.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneeredboys.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, remember the story about Broncos offensive tackle? Craig, I always have to ask you this. You're not going to bring that up? Broncos offensive tackle Juwan James ruptured his Achilles. Craig brought this up in Off the Radar once, and we also discussed it. He signed a 2-year deal with the Ravens.
Good for him.
$9 million. This is according to Schefter.
He's going to win some of that money back from the
Still has to
Broncos.
pass the physical. Now, that would be interesting, but it will not include his current injury. and no issues are expected. So in other words, they can't find something else that he might have that's injury-wise or injury issue. But the actual torn Achilles will not be a part of him not passing the physical. $9 million.
Not a bad backup. Mine would be $9 if I was in a similar situation. So yeah, not a bad second breath of life there in the NFL for Juwan James. But yeah, that was kind of a gross story. Just the fact that he got hurt and they were just going to cut him loose like that. It's very unfortunate. So I'm glad that things were able to work out in his favor, and they certainly did. He's on a better team now, and if anybody knows how to go and pick the bargain bin and find talent, it's the Baltimore Ravens. If they don't draft it themselves. So, yeah, I'm sure he'll probably end up being a solid player for them when all is said and done.
This is what they do. This is what, again, there's nothing to lose here. If he ends up being injured or he doesn't pass the physical, then okay. $9 million for a guy who's a quality offensive lineman, right, Paul?
Well, and look, John Harbaugh says maybe he's back in December or so, and they might have him for the stretch run, which would be great. And they trade Orlando Brown Jr. to the Chiefs during the offseason because
is still just ridiculous.
Yeah,
he was ridiculous.
He was unhappy, and the Chiefs had a desperate need for offensive linemen, if you remember from the Super Bowl, and they upgraded in a big way. He felt he was a left tackle, not a right tackle, and they signed Alejandro Villanueva from the Steelers to play right tackle, which is a nice fit for them. But that's a one-year hitch, and then Juwan James can step in next year and that's the Ravens, though. The Ravens are always – I'm surprised they haven't won more Super Bowls, but they win consistently enough and they're knocking on the door enough to where they're, one of the best run organizations in sports. They're always thinking 10 moves ahead.
I agree.
And you can argue the Chiefs are too now. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they were able to take a player like Orlando Brown and get him on their roster, that's insane. Like, that's when you sat on a horseshoe, and at some point Kansas City did, the Hunt family did, and it was like 2 years ago when they drafted Patrick Mahomes. And since then, they had injuries in the Super Bowl that probably cost them from winning a Super Bowl last year. And so, to go and get Orlando Brown makes a lot of sense. But, it's like when you're winning, man, just everything goes your way. It's like, all of a sudden Orlando Brown falls in our lap. Oh, we need a left tackle. Here we go from the Ravens. It's crazy. It's crazy how it works.
That's why when you do have someone fall in your lap, whether it's because nobody else thought he was good enough or you got lucky, like Lyle Collins, or when you have a quarterback named Tony Romo for over a decade who, again, everybody said no to, and then you cannot completely take advantage of it. I know those are too random, but, it just seems like the Chiefs. Think about how many teams have drafted quarterbacks in the last 25 years. When was Mahomes drafted? What pick?
12th.
Yeah.
12th pick overall. Mm-hmm. And how many quarterbacks have been drafted in the last 25 years in the top 10?
Oh, like 200 probably. Not that many, but
someone else could have moved up to get Mahomes. Somebody else might have felt the same thing, and they let him at 12th.
Deshaun Watson notwithstanding, he was picked right before, right? And Mitch Trubisky was the first pick in that draft as quarterbacks go, and I guess it was Jared Goff and Mitch Trubisky. And
that's not being lucky, though. That's just Andy Reid being a genius. And that's him just going, y'all want to get hung up about the fact that his team sucked in college because the defense was atrocious? Okay. Has nothing to do with Patrick. You guys want to get hung up about the fact that he didn't go to a bowl game his final year? Like, okay, it's not really on Patrick. He just saw a stud quarterback with a Major League Baseball arm, maneuverability, a high football IQ, and he thought, hey, that guy would make a great quarterback. He didn't worry about all the other – he played in the Big 12. They don't play defense in the Big – there are people still regurgitating that, and guess what? The defenses in the Big 12 this year will be better than most of the offenses in the Big 12 this year. Mm-hmm. So things have changed. I don't think the NFL draft analysts have caught up with that based on their latest coverage, which was still regurgitating things from like 2015. But – smart people are smart, and Andy Reid's a smart football coach, and he saw talent, and he didn't worry about all the other jazz, and look at him now. He won a Super Bowl, they played for another one, and they're only getting better now.
Look, you know who Mahomes was to me right now, if you compare the quarterbacks that Andy Reid had, and Donovan McNabb got him a Super Bowl, but Mahomes is Donovan McNabb without drama.
And better.
Yeah, and better. so again, he's a head a little bit above talent-wise, because I think Donovan was really, really talented, but there's no drama in Patrick's life.
Well, was McNabb drama-free until T.O. showed up?
I think what we found out about McNabb later in his life is that he was
a drama
he kind of, drama finds him, and so that's why I say that. Like, I don't think you turn into someone who has drama when you're 30. I think you have it when you're 20. You have it when you just have it. Patrick Mahomes, and he's a kid with no drama. He's super smart. He's there's no ego about him like there normally would be for a guy that's as good as he is. He just is who he is, and. He threw for 800 yards in a game, and they lost.
Well, they don't play defense, Paul.
Hey, let me ask you a question.
I think when you throw for 800 yards in a game, you've done absolutely, literally all you can do.
Yeah.
The Deshaun Watson, did he have any red flags coming out of college?
No.
None of that. And so here's
Dabo was swearing up and down. He's like the greatest man he'd ever met.
And you never know. And we don't know it. It just happened to be Deshaun Watson. It could have been somebody else. But Mahomes checked all the boxes, and Deshaun Watson's really talented, incredibly talented, very productive. But now you have to deal with that.
If he played at Alabama, he would have been the number 1 overall draft pick and a national champion. People got caught up on where he played his college football because Tech was garbage and their defense was atrocious. And so people just said, oh, the Kingsbury offense, and everybody throws for 600 yards. I mean, B.J. Simmons, and going down the list of old Red Raider quarterbacks as though Patrick's just one of a mold when. I mean, he is his own mold. And so, I think some people got hung up on that. But ultimately, Andy Reid's just a great football coach, and that's why the Bears are the Bears, because they actually sat in a room and evaluated Patrick Mahomes and Mitch Trubisky and walked away thinking, Mitch Trubisky is going to be our pick. And that's the difference between those guys and Andy Reid winning Super Bowls.
Yeah.
I mean,
in the 5 o'clock hour after David Hellman, I want to go back to the thread that I started on SicEm365.com in the premium section we had discussion about the stepping stone, some really great answers, really thorough answers, some good debate on that. And I think 90% of the people said no. But we'll get into why. We'll get to that at 5:20. Nobody sent me a text. Nobody sent me an email. Nobody on Twitter made that comment. I was just thinking about the Baylor coaches who have been assistant coaches and how many of them could have become good head coaches but didn't get the job. And then I realized not many of them. We brought up Mitch Thompson. We brought up a couple of others, but we'll get back to that at 5:20. But the Juwan James story, 2 years, $9 million if everything goes well, and he'll be an insurance policy for the Ravens later on in the year, and might be somebody that starts 8 or 9 years after that for them. Who knows? Also, in the next segment, Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. We'll have David Hellman and John McClain. So much more to get to on SicEm365 Radio. Marco's Pizza. It's a go-to for us here in the studio. Bob Mock, we appreciate what he's done. One of our sponsors, our many sponsors, the growing list of sponsors of SicEm365 Radio. But you know what? They have really good pizza. Right now, they have gift cards available no matter what particular price you want to put on it, $25, $50, whatever amount of money. They have the tasty sidekick, the fresh-baked cheesy bread. We've had it brought here. We've had pizza from Marco's delivered here, and including the cheesy bread in different ways. Also on top of that, there's the app, of course, that allows you to order and do whatever you want with that. The delicious pizza bowls for $7.99, up to 4 toppings. You could order that as well. But the bottom line is this. They have really good pizza. It's tasty. It's fresh. You want regular crust. You want thin crust. You want all meat, or you want something with a lot of vegetables, or just flat out cheese and pepperoni. They can do that for you. Locations in China Spring, Belmead, and also in Woodway. Marco's Pizza in Central Texas.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Allen Samuels is holding the Ram Spotlight event on the new 2021 Ram Lone Star Crew Cab trucks at Allen Samuels. The three-peat Motor Trend Truck of the Year is built to serve. This truck is perfect for whatever your lifestyle calls for. Impressive towing, high-strength steel frame, and the smoothest, most comfortable ride of any truck. Allen Samuels located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco. Come see the Ram Lone Star Crew Cab. The Ram Spotlight event won't last long. Visit Allen Samuels today or online at allensamuelsdcj.com.
Come by. Let's be friends.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy elite tennis facilities and also remain fit or reshape your body. Now Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. There are 7 large flat screens stretched across the main and improved weight room with Wi-Fi available and their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports channels. The beautiful sound of active treadmills and elliptical machines, group exercise classes throughout each day, a new ballet bar for bar classes, a new look lounge and bar with beer and wine with more large flat screens available. Touchless water fountains outside each spacious men's and women's locker rooms, showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts and lessons for adults and juniors. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Also, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. So start today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar.
All right. Back here on SicEm365 Radio. Time for Off the Radar. Taking a look at a few stories that we might not typically spend a lot of time on or even mention, if not for this segment. I know when Smokey was on vacation, he definitely had to be watching that Floyd Mayweather-Logan Paul boxing match.
I got to tell you.
Did you and the brothers rent that?
No, we didn't. I just kind of slightly kept up with it. Not that I was worried about it. I just knew it would be a farce. I saw Mayweather have a little bit of a knot under his right eye, which is something he's probably never had before. That is so today in sports, and they made millions, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm sure they did. Yeah, I know that they did. I know Floyd made double-digit millions easily. I think it was a UFC fighter. It might have been John Jones or someone else. I saw this in passing where they made the comment that Floyd was making at least like $20 million, if not way more than that on this fight, because that's what Floyd makes for fights. And this wasn't even a real fight. This was an exhibition with no declared winner. So it was basically just an that's what it was. It was an exhibition, and he still made regular purse money practically off this. I don't know what the pay-per-view numbers are yet. I would imagine it probably sold a few pay-per-views, though. I'd imagine it probably did well because there is some attraction here. But Dana White was asked about Floyd Mayweather. He and Floyd have had their fair share of, barbs and whatnot thrown back and forth at each other. They flirted a little while. Mayweather thought about entering the UFC to basically do what he's doing now, except for to do it seriously, unlike now where it's mostly just a complete joke is what it's turning into. But Dana White said on the fight between Paul and Mayweather, I didn't see it, but I heard it went the distance, and I would love to see Floyd retire. No more. He should retire. Floyd should retire. He's had an incredible career, and to do these fights, these types of fights, is just, it's silly. So Dana White advocating for Floyd to stop with the goofiness and to hang up the gloves. But he did say on Paul, the possibility of really either of the Paul brothers getting into the UFC at some point. He did say that he respected their hustle, that they've trained really hard, and clearly they've trained. They've actually taken this serious. He gives them respect for basically starting a YouTube channel when they were 12 years old and turning it into fighting Floyd freaking Mayweather on pay-per-view, for God's sakes. I mean, and they're multi-millionaires, so you have to give them credit for the business acumen and for the athletic side. He said he's got no hate. They parlayed their success on YouTube and are now making big money fights. I say this all the time. There's always going to be a market for these types of fights. Imagine if Kim Kardashian wanted to fight Amanda Nunes. And he said, that's the thing. I see a lot of these fighters crying. This guy's making this money. This guy's making this money. What do you think Kim Kardashian would make if she came in and fought Amanda Nunes? Probably more than anybody's ever made ever. So, that was Dana just commenting on the Freak Show fight this past weekend, which I say in a loving tone, really, and also his opinion on Floyd Mayweather's fighting career.
It's a joke, and yet it's a moneymaker. He's always been a moneymaker. And these Paul kids, whatever they're, the twins or brothers or whatever, they've become these stars. And of course, they got the other brother? Who's the other one? That's the
Jake and Logan Paul.
Yeah, he got into it with an MMA or UFC guy on the side.
He beat a UFC guy, and then had the little. I mean, the fights that they're doing now, like they're setting them up, like so. He beats.
But why?
Because people are buying it.
Yeah. What's the attraction to watch these two guys?
Because you don't get it, and I don't really even get it, and I'm the youngest of the three of us. But it's no different than when you were growing up, it was musicians, actors, and athletes, right?
Yeah.
That's who you probably looked up to. Although back in your day, you probably actually respected the people who do real work as well, the astronauts and people like that. In my generation, it grew a little bit, and entertainment became wider. And now, a lot of these social media people, I don't get it. I don't get the pull or the attraction or any of it, but millions upon millions of kids do, and teenagers, and people who were teenagers when the Pauls were teenagers, and they're in their 20s, and so that's your audience right there.
Yeah, Smokey, you remember we used to do celebrity birthdays on the show?
I don't.
A little bit. I mean, we used to do it from time to time. So when I would have to do that instead of the producer that day, I would go to the website. They sent me this website, and it would go celebrity birthdays. And I would expect to see Robert Redford, Richard Nixon, people who are famous for doing something. And then they would have before you had to weed through all these TikTok stars and YouTube personalities. And I was like, well, Robert Redford was in Butch and Sundance and all these great movies, and Neil Armstrong went to the friggin' moon, and this guy farts in a microphone on YouTube, and I don't know.
Well, it's like the Instagram models that are making millions because of whoever follows them. I have to say this, but then again, I can always remember Muhammad Ali. He was the world champion, fought Antonio Inoki, a Japanese wrestler, in 1976 in the summer. And it was kind of the same thing. It was an exhibition. It ended up with a draw. It was kind of a joke. And I was like, God, Ali, what are you doing? And yet they made millions. So it's not like it just happened recently.
Yeah, that's also one of the worst all-time fights ever in the history, because the difference there is that was not Inoki and Ali was not straight boxing. Yeah. Ali boxed. Inoki did his normal fighting. So basically, Inoki just perched down the entire fight and just kicked Ali's legs repeatedly.
107 times.
107 times. He just kicked Ali in the legs. This was straight boxing. And that's what I was saying on the show yesterday is I give these guys their credit for their marketing ability and the fan bases they built up. Again, it's at not my age wheelhouse. So I give them all the credit in the world for that. But at the same time, Floyd Mayweather was 7 inches shorter and 50 pounds lighter. He's, in his 40s. He's basically retired at this point. So I want to see how legit these guys are because they obviously have trained and they're legitimately trained, but I want to see him fight an actual heavyweight. You know what I mean? Let's see a real boxing match. But right now they're getting all this money off of pay-per-view exhibitions and things like that, so I'm sure we're going to see it continue. And I actually just did see this. Apparently the Mayweather-Paul pay-per-view did between 600,000 and 650,000 buys. That's many millions of dollars.
Wow. That Anuki and Ali fight, by the way, I just saw this. Across 34 countries, around an estimated audience of 1.4 billion people.
Yeah.
150 closed-circuit TV locations in the United States alone.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was really boring.
Yeah, it was.
Really boring.
It was.
So between 600 and 650,000 pay-per-view buys, and Dana White feels like Floyd should retire, but he's open to the idea, he's leaving the door cracked that if they take it seriously moving forward, then maybe he throws them in there at some point, but that would be a whole different ballgame. That would be actual MMA, not boxing, and I don't know how well that would go for them. So anyways, just a slight update on that right there. Also, Julio Jones, newest member of the Tennessee Titans, he will not wear his customary number 11. He says that he is refusing to take the digits. A.J. Brown, his new teammate, tried to give him the number 11 or figured that he'd want the number 11, maybe even offered a purchase type of deal like they normally do. But he said he tried like hell to give Julio the number, and he was a big part of why Julio came to Tennessee, but he said that Julio wouldn't accept it. So he respects that. He's excited to have him on the team, and that just means Julio was already going to sell new jerseys with the Titans logo, but now he'll have a new number too, so that'll probably boost sales even further.
All right, I got a question. Who was their other receiver they lost?
Corey Davis went to the Jets.
Okay, how much, I know that you may scoff at me, how much better is Julio Jones than Corey Davis?
I mean, I think he's better. I don't think right now he's that much better.
At a wide receiver position, how much of a difference will Julio Jones be compared to Corey Davis? I know that he's better. I know he's a freak. But how?
I think I don't know if it's about better, so much better if they can keep that production that they had last year from Corey Davis, who was, just shy of 1,000 yards, and they had A.J. Brown as well. They also lost Jonnu Smith to the Patriots, so it's about if they can match some of that production. I don't think it's about better.
So this doesn't make them better.
I mean, if it makes them the same, it doesn't make them worse.
Be careful when you get to the point where you start saying, okay, who's going to be a Super Bowl contender? I don't think this makes the Titans a Super Bowl contender.
What's going to make them
really good?
What's making them a Super Bowl contender is if they can stop them.
They're in a division with the Texans and who else?
The Colts
are pretty good.
Jaguars.
And the Jaguars, who, again, okay. All right.
Yep, so Julio will be changing numbers. I'm sure they'll have that jersey up there at some point very soon on the Titans website for those that may be interested, but they did try to give him number 11. He just wanted something different. Gadsden High School in New Mexico has announced they are going independent. They said they will not play Class 6A in the state of New Mexico, and then they won't be in any district or classification. They instead have decided to play teams closer to their skill level in 2021. They have arch rivals like Centennial and Las Cruces and Mayfield, and by going independent, they can make their own schedule and they can schedule bigger teams. Apparently, schools like Santa Teresa and Chaparral, but they're going to go independent for this year and I guess beef up their schedule or make it more in line. And I just found that interesting because that's not a move that, it's like one thing when a college declares they're going to go independent, but in high school, you don't hear that often.
But if you go independent, that means you don't get to play for a state title. So what you're telling your team is like, what's important to us is playing as many games as we can. I want it to be better. We want to challenge it, but like you're not going to get a trophy.
Do those recruiting machines in Florida?
IMG, they can't do it.
They can't play for a state championship, but that's what they want to play for is be ranked number 1 in the USA Today or ESPN or whatever, and they can be in that conversation. That would be interesting to start. Like, what school in Texas would just say, we're no longer going to play for a UIL state title? If they're a public school, nobody. I can't imagine anybody.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Because that's a huge deal to win it all.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyways, Gadsden out in New Mexico, just found that interesting that they are going to go independent. So we'll see how that goes for them there in the state of New Mexico this upcoming season. The Olympics are still on track to happen, guys. Even though
Is that this summer?
A month from now.
Yeah.
A month from now.
It just seems like I don't know that.
Yeah, Japan is not doing well with coronavirus, and there's just a lot of worry and fret going on. But at least like a somewhat cool story out of that is today the Olympic Committee announced their refugee athletes. I don't know if you guys knew this, but there's actually a refugee team in the Olympics. Did y'all know that?
No, I didn't know.
So there's Team USA, there's Team Kenya, there's Team whatever, but there's also a refugee team. This year will be comprised of 29 athletes across 12 sports. They will compete next month in Tokyo, if Tokyo is able to make this thing work, which is kind of, I don't know yet. They will compete under the Olympic flag, and they will have refugees from Syria, South Sudan, Eritrea, Afghanistan, and Iran. And it's almost triple the amount of refugees they had on the team back during the Rio de Janeiro games. So for those who no longer feel like they have a home or have escaped where they were unhappy and probably didn't have very good lives, they still can be Olympic athletes. They just don't have one country. They're just under the banner of refugees.
That's good. If they've earned it based on their times or distance or whatever, good for them.
Yeah, I mean, like and think about it just in a sense of patriotism, if your country is bad, I mean, if it's terrible like the Sudan, do you want to run in waving the flag for the Sudan? Probably not.
Right.
Who wants to do that?
Kimya Alizada, who is the first female Olympic medalist from Iran. She won bronze back in 2016 in Taekwondo. Her and a fellow Iranian who is a canoe racer, they are a part of the refugee team. And Alizada said she left Iran in 2020. She was oppressed as a woman. Falzula, the canoe racer, ended up going to Germany back in 2015 via a route through the Balkan Islands. And so, they took off, and now they'll be able to represent their country. So I think that's pretty cool.
I wonder if there are any, with the way things are in this country, I wonder if there are any athletes who want to think that they can send a message by going to compete for the refugee school.
Oh, I think that,
is that going to happen?
No, you can't.
You can't be a refugee from America. You wouldn't be. You can't just say you're a refugee.
That's some QAnon
you never know
thought,
anymore.
right? That's some QAnon thinking right there.
Right.
I mean, you can't be a refugee from a country that's not war torn.
No, you're right.
I mean,
although some would love to act
oppressed.
Like that.
Oppressed.
No.
I would love for the oppressed to go live in Eritrea or Kenya.
And you would understand that you live in a freaking Shangri-La.
If you went to from any country, if you went to the refugees, like, hey, I'm going to be with you, like, oh, where are you from? Oh, I'm from England or America or whatever. Like, oh, well,
they're
kind of mean to me. Like, oh yeah, they're cutting off all our heads today. So we win.
Yeah,
that's like something like if I broke my arm right now, and you're like, I know what happened. I got a Charlie horse earlier. I'd be like, you know what? F you. Like,
right. I mean, basically. But, spoiled is as spoiled does. So,
oh, my God.
Elsewhere in the NBA tonight, you got Hawks and Sixers at 6:30 on TNT. Hawks are up 1-0 in the semis over Philly. And the Clippers, after their defeat of the Mavericks, Game 1, they're on the road against Royce O'Neal and the Utah Jazz. So big ups to Royce and a lot of Baylor connections there on Utah, obviously. That'll be the nightcap. And then tonight, NHL, Tampa Bay, Carolina, Game 5. Lightning are up 3-1 in that one. That's actually going to start here.
Carolina's the number 1 seed, I think.
That's starting in less than 30 minutes, actually. And then Vegas and Colorado, Game 5. That's tied at 2-2. That will be tonight at 8.
Let's go Bolts.
There you go.
Yeah, Tampa Bay. That's my brothers were bringing that up. Michael, my second oldest brother, was bringing that up. He was excited about that. All right, anything else?
No, that's all the stuff that's off the radar.
Hey, one quick programming note. We will carry Bosqueville baseball, the semifinal game tomorrow night against Garrison, I believe it is. That game will be on 106.7 FM and on SicEm365 Radio. And if they win tomorrow night, Lark Smith will broadcast for us. He just did the MCC National Championship Tour. He will then have the game on Thursday at noon from down in Round Rock, and, of course, also on 106.7 FM and SicEm365 Radio.
So if you know anybody that is in Bosqueville that has not downloaded the app or wants to listen to the game, go and download the SicEm365 Radio app, and that way you can definitely tune into the game no matter if you're in your car or not. But if you're in a car, 106.7.
If you're going to go to the game, you're going to need the app to listen to it. So.
Well, Insurers of Texas, Jason Ewens, Rostech, First National Bank, Central Texas, Southwest Sports Medicine, Lance Donaldson, eXp Realty, Dreammaker Bath and Kitchen of Central Texas, Get Notice promo, Reliable Home Health Care are the sponsors of the broadcast coming up tomorrow night with Lark Smith on hopefully Wednesday and Thursday. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com, is coming up next.
The First National Bank of Central Texas, 5 locations right here at home. Waco, Woodway, Hewitt, China Spring, Martin, and Hillsboro. Familiar faces making local decisions. Here to help you, your family, and your business, whether it's great times or tough times. All of us need a bank we can count on. Great people with great technology dedicated to their customers and helping our area grow. Safe banking in person or use their online and mobile apps and convenient drive-thrus and ATMs at all locations. They've got First Deposit with their First mobile app, so you can do your banking wherever you are, check balances, make transfers, pay bills, transfer funds. Plus, you can take a picture of the check, deposit it right through the app, choose your account, deposit, and go. The First National Bank of Central Texas, 5 locations right here at home.
Payments for qualified buyer with $4,000 down to 2.9%. TTNL Extra. See dealer for details.
Travel is back during the summer savings event at Richard Carr. Explore America in the space and safety of an SUV or truck from Richard Carr. Savings like a 2016 Buick Encore for $148 a month, a 2017 GMC Sierra for only $318 a month, or a 2016 GMC Acadia for only $228 a month. At Richard Carr, 100% credit approval is always the goal. Log on or get here now and save at the summer savings event at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com.
Here's Elliott. He will get it. Touchdown Dallas as Elliott fought for it and has his 6th of the year.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. David Hellman. Cowboys are an OTA. This is one you have to be at or should be at. David Hellman with us Tuesdays in the 5 o'clock hour on SicEm365 Radio.
David, the defense obviously is the big offseason question. Have you been able to see anything that leads you to kind of get what Dan Quinn wants to do, shifting guys around or giving guys new roles?
I mean, yeah, the shifting around part is what stands out to me, and that's like, this looks like a really multiple defense. And honestly, you know, not to scare anybody, but it looks very similar to a lot of the stuff they did last year, or did last summer, I should say, just in the sense of how fluid this is. I mean, you see a lot of subbing in, a lot of subbing out. You see 4-man fronts, you see 3-man fronts. You know, obviously there's more linebackers than you know what to do with. And it's interesting to see the way that they mix and match personnel. You know, we've said before that Keanu Neal seems to, it looks likely that he's going to have a nickel and dime role as a pass coverage linebacker, but you've obviously got all these other guys you got to figure out what to do with. And that's through these 3 practices that we've seen. It's just a constant rotation, which is interesting. But I mean, to be honest with you, it's hard to keep a handle on it all because they change the personnel so much.
David, is everybody pretty much there, expected to be there? I guess pretty much just the injured guys that aren't taking part right now?
Everybody was there. Yeah, I mean, there's roughly a dozen guys that are limited for one reason or another. Obviously, Amari Cooper's not practicing. He's coming off a scope. It's from the offseason. Zach Martin, DeMarcus Lawrence, Tristan Hill. Like, there's no small number of guys that are limited right now, but everybody is in the building.
So Tyron Smith discussed these stingers. I don't know if you've had one or not, but it can be crippling. I don't know. How do you fix a stinger problem? You go in there and what do they do? Do you even know that, David? How do they fix that? Just relieve some muscles, ligaments, what?
I mean, I'm definitely not a doctor. I was joking with a coworker right before I left the office today that, you know, it's kind of like turf toe. Like, stinger is such an innocuous sounding name. When you say stinger and you're like, oh, big deal, that can't be that bad. But in reality, I mean, it's nerve inflammation that runs all the way down your body. Like, it's terrible. I saw Tyron suffer a stinger from 50 feet away in Atlanta 2 or 3 years ago. And I mean, if you've ever seen Tyron Smith, he's a mountain of a man, and it reduced him to, I mean, he crumpled onto the ground because he was in so much pain. It's a lot. I don't know how they do it, but I mean, you know, my general understanding is that it's essentially a nerve that gets pinched or out of position, you know, in the cavities in your bones. I think they just kind of go in and relieve that pressure, and, you know, whatever's pinching it or putting pressure on it, they move it out of the way or get rid of it. And, you know, Tyron said he feels a lot more mobility in his neck and his arms since he did it. So it's definitely good news.
Most of the time you got a neck roll, you know, you try to stabilize the neck. And I always thought he had kind of, he played that
I had a
way.
stinger one time playing football. I'm not quite Tyron Smith, believe it or not, but my arm went completely numb for like minutes at a time, and it was really painful. So, yeah, I can see where it'd be problematic.
Yeah. All right, David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com with us on Tuesdays in the 5 o'clock hour.
Yeah, they need better names for stuff. It's just
but if you've ever had one, that's a pretty damn close name. Yeah.
All right, David. What defensive ranking? You know, just kind of ballpark it. Would they need to be for you to think that they're going to have success past winning the division into the playoffs with the offense? They'll have?
If we assume that the offense is everything we hope and dream it can be, I need you to be somewhere between 16 and 20 with a favorable turnover margin. I mean, part of that is on the offense. They got to be way cleaner. That's part of it. But, you know, they actually generated a surprising amount of turnovers in the last month of last season. Now, a big part of that's because they were playing bad quarterbacks. But if they can keep that roll going, like, I don't even need them to be mediocre. Like I said, like, you could be 20th in the league But if they're getting, if they're forcing more takeaways than they're giving up, and with that offense, I think that should be good enough for them to be pretty good. I mean, the Chiefs haven't been a juggernaut these last few years, but they're just good enough to help that offense out. I think that's all the Cowboys need.
So, David, I asked you about Randy Gregory probably 3 or 4 weeks ago or something like that, but it just seems like there's more and more positives that are being talked about. I know you had a couple of quotes up on Twitter today. Does it just feel kind of different around Randy Gregory right now, best you can tell, as far as just positive, thoughts and just optimism abound?
Not even just around him, like Randy himself. Like I've gotten to, I know Randy somewhat well at this point, which is, it's kind of funny when you think about how much time he's spent around the team, but he seems like a whole new person. And, he said today that he understands why people are curious about his past, but he wants to put it behind him. And, building trust is a big part of that. He's spent the majority of his career suspended, for better or for worse. But it doesn't, I haven't heard any bad thing about the guy since probably 2 years ago. And, it certainly seems, I know he's putting in the work on the field, and it certainly, just from talking to him and being around him and listening to him, it seems like he's put in a lot of work off the field as well. And for everything that guy's overcome, I don't know how you don't root for him. How many people that wrote him off at different points during his career. And I don't know how good of a season he's going to have, but it's all in front of him. I mean, if he plays well, he's in a contract year, which is weird to say because he's been on the same deal for 6 or 7 years at this point. But, he's going to have a big opportunity to change the narrative about him. There's no doubt about that.
Is it weird to hear that CeeDee Lamb, it's all true what he said, but he had a really, really good rookie year last year, and at times great, to say like, oh man, I really didn't feel like I was ready to play going in because of the offseason. And now that they have the full offseason, that's pretty scary, isn't it, that he could be that much better?
Yeah, CD wasn't perfect. I brought that up the other day. I mean, it gets lost in the shuffle. He was an unquestionable success story, but there were drops, there were missed plays. It wasn't all sunshine and roses. But for him to put that season together without Dak for the majority of the time, and for all of the troubles they had on offense, yeah, it's absolutely impressive. And it's a funny spot for me. Obviously, I'm a gigantic LSU homer. I love that Justin Jefferson broke out last year, and I think he's going to be a great player. But I absolutely think people are underselling CD a little bit because, Justin Jefferson, he had his quarterback. He had ideal circumstances throughout his rookie season, and CD really didn't. So I'm not going to be surprised if CD flips the script and reminds people why he was drafted ahead of Jefferson when they get a chance to play again.
I asked Paul and Craig this earlier on the Julio Jones trade from Atlanta to Tennessee. Corey Davis is no longer there. In the end, how much, even though he's a freak and he's one of the best receivers in football, how much difference really is there between Julio Jones and Corey Davis? And did Atlanta get enough in return for him?
I really appreciate that you respect my opinion enough. I mean, obviously, Julio's a freak, and I think people kind of undersell how good he still is. I mean, when he's healthy, he's as good as there is, and I think he's got plenty of good football left. Corey Davis didn't really live up to his pick. I couldn't speculate about how good he actually is. I've probably only watched 3 Titans games during his career, but I would absolutely take Julio over Corey Davis like 100 times out of 100, even with everything that he's, even with all the injuries that he's dealt with. So I think the Titans got better. As far as it's tough, and people joke about it, about how expensive it is to move around on draft night as opposed to only getting a second and a fourth for Julio Jones. But the bottom line is, cheap labor is how you win in the NFL these days. Like, those rookie contracts are everything. Like, obviously you got to find the right guy, but drafting a guy who can carry your team for 4 or 5 years for a fraction of the cost, that's how you win. I mean, that's how the Seahawks built a juggernaut. Patrick Mahomes, obviously he's amazing, but being able to surround him with talent because he's so cheap is a big part of why the Chiefs are so good. And I don't think you can put a premium on that. And, the point is, Julio's fantastic, but you're 32 and your contract's not easy to deal with. And that it drops your value in a league where people are always looking to get better for cheaper.
David, I think we're done on the Cowboys end, but how are you feeling about your LSU baseball team?
I love postseason baseball, man. And I don't have time, and I'm not a big enough diehard to watch all 60 games. But it's kind of like college basketball. When you get into conference play, you start paying attention, and the standard is high at LSU. So my expectations were really low, seeing that they weren't good enough to have a winning record in conference. But I know they're talented, and obviously they're going to play hard for Paul Mainieri because he's retiring when the season's over. So I'm not surprised they put a little bit of a run together. And man, it would, I know Tennessee's great. I'm not taking it for granted, but this weekend was really fun, and what a story that would be if they could get to Omaha one more time for Paul.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. As always, David Helman, DallasCowboys.com. The College World Series Championship, Oklahoma, and the softball school from America.
Who's that?
That's right.
Florida State.
Florida State.
Listen, Florida State beating Alabama is only a harbinger of what's about to come for that university.
I actually watched some
softball.
of that. I actually watched some of that. They nearly choked. They got really lucky.
Well, look, they got really lucky. You saw the play the couple years ago when they won the Women's College World Series. Was a flipping miracle. It was a miracle.
You were watching that.
I watched some of it.
Yeah, I watched towards the end, and Alabama put up like a 3-spot in the next to last inning, and the only reason that they didn't score more and potentially tie or take the lead was because of a base running mistake where a girl got thrown out trying to grab another base on a hit, and that ended the inning. But Alabama was starting to really roll that inning, and it was all for naught.
Here's what we do.
Would you trade one softball championship?
Oklahoma by 20, by the way.
Would you trade one softball championship for Florida State winning the ACC in football?
What? No offense to the girls, they're working their tails off there, but
Be careful.
I don't. Honestly, if it came, I would burn this building down.
The question isn't if a football national title weighs more than the softball national title. It's how many softball titles equate a football national title. And it's more than two. It's more than a couple.
I don't know the answer.
It's more than a couple.
I don't know the answer to that.
Is there a number that high?
To me, it would be how many hot dogs can Joey Chestnut eat compared to Twiggy?
I think it's great that Florida State has become a women's sports mecca.
Yes,
yes. They've won the national championship in soccer. They've won it in softball.
That's why I brought it up. You should be proud.
If they beat Oklahoma, then that would really be something to celebrate. Because this is this Oklahoma team we've been hearing now for well over a year. It's the greatest ever, even though they're not unbeaten or anything. And they lost their first game in the postseason to James Madison. But was it James Madison?
It was. They had to come back and beat them twice.
And then they turned around and beat Oklahoma State, too, which was pretty impressive. But, that Oklahoma-Florida State will be interesting. But Oklahoma, I would imagine, is the heavy favorite.
You be camped in front of the old flat screen tonight for watching that?
No, probably not. I'm not going to lie. I'll follow along. I'll keep up. I follow the softball team on Twitter, and I'll follow the updates, and I'll click on a highlight or something.
No popcorn in a.
No. I'm not gonna pretend to be someone I'm not.
There you go.
I'm happy for it.
To me, the most exciting part of this was that the women's softball team at Florida State won a national title, and the baseball team had all of those fantastic teams. Painful. It's painful. I had to get to the stinger.
By the way,
it's the one. It just really hurts.
I need to get off of picking on Paul here, but did y'all watch any of the LSU Oregon baseball game? Did y'all see how lame that Oregon crowd was?
No, I didn't.
Oh my gosh,
I did see. I saw some highlights, but I didn't notice the crowd. Yeah,
that crowd was whack. I don't know if it's a West Coast thing. I don't know if it was the time or what. But that Oregon, when you watched, Arkansas has got the most insane crowd ever.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
The Huskers took them to a regional elimination.
They did. But Arkansas is packed to the gills, and they're going nuts. And then you watch Oregon, and it's like going from The Sopranos to Golden Girls. It's crazy.
Yeah. My God.
I wonder, sometimes you think about the regional, Arkansas, who's the top seed, Nebraska, pushed them to the limit, and then they look over at the number 2 seed, and Texas, they sent Texas no one who would even bother them.
Yeah.
Not even Texas shouldn't even got up in the morning for some of these teams.
They're walking to Omaha.
Yeah, it's just and then
Florida loses.
Florida and Miami both lose, and South Florida goes.
And Hey,
better be lucky than good. They're good though too.
But they are also top 5, if not higher, most of the year.
By the way, the South Florida people will find out. Like they believe that they invented their gesture, which I will not do.
Oh, hook 'em.
Yeah, they I won't do that. It's unbecoming on this.
What is South Florida?
Only upside down.
They do the horn.
They do the horns too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because of the Bulls, right?
Yeah. But like South Florida people think that they invented everything.
No.
It is a different country almost down there in South Florida, so they got their own way of living down there.
That's my brother. That's my older brother's. I think that's his alma mater, but he went to school there for a long time. All right, when we come back, a couple more responses from you on the Baylor and the stepping stone, the question I put out. A lot of really good, thoughtful, insightful responses on that, plus the line open at 254-339-1122. When we come back, that, and then also we'll have John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, Sic'em365 Radio.
Richard Carr of Buick GMC Cadillac. Travel is back, and so are the savings during the summer savings event at Richard Carr Motors. You can get back on the road with space, safety, and luxury with a Buick vehicle. Richard Carr's got Buick SUVs, all priced to move, and current Buick or GMC owners get 16% off a new 2021 Buick Encore, 13% on Encore GX, 9% on midsize Buick Envision, or 13% on a full-size Buick Enclave. And Richard Carr is also loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks. All pre-owned cars and trucks are priced to move during the summer savings event, with multiple cars and trucks priced under $230 a month for qualified buyer. And each pre-owned vehicle goes through a 172-point inspection before it hits the lot. With dozens of lenders, we say yes when others say no. That's Richard Carr's motto. 100% credit approval is always the goal, and they are your local hometown dealership. They want to give you a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. So come by and take a test drive, or let them bring a test drive to you. It's the summer savings event going on all month at Richard Carr.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let
let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Are you a SicEm365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at SicEm365.com.
All right, earlier today, just threw out there, I don't even know why, I just kind of did, about the Baylor and if there is any kind of thought that they are a stepping stone school. And then you start to think about who they've had. Grant Tapp did not leave. Eventually, it was just kind of time, according to Baylor. And then Chuck Reedy took over. That didn't go all that well. And then, of course, there was a stretch of hell when it comes to football coaches. Art Briles was, of course, there was a lot of interest in the University of Texas, and there was others. Texas Tech nibbled. He stayed, and eventually he was forced out. Matt Rule had the NFL in his mind from the beginning. He even said it, admitted it, was never trying to ever say it wasn't, although there were some things that could have been handled. Even he had said that better leading up to the bowl game against Georgia. But that's a stepping stone into the NFL. There's 32 of those jobs in America. Scott Drew since 2003. Kim Mulkey for a long, long time until LSU. That was not a stepping stone move. That was a unique situation. Right?
Yeah, and you know what the most rumors I've heard around Scott Drew was literally 3 months ago when Indiana was still open, and it's like, oh, they got to go hire Scott Drew, and then, you know, common sense tells you that Baylor's a better job, so it's not.
Here are some responses I mentioned. The interesting and complimentary question. Is Baylor a stepping stone for athletes? Imagine what Phil Knight could do with Washington's NIL program. Say Baylor develops some really good three-star athletes into all-conference players. In this brave new world of the transfer portal, NIL money, a coach from a rich school like Washington Nike will be able to dwarf what Baylor can pay. Free agency is here.
Well, Baylor can't pay anything.
Yeah, it would be the
local market
businesses would be the ones paying.
Right.
But there's definitely stuff like that going on. We're not foolish.
But I mean, you think about like the question though, like, okay, you know, Nike's in Oregon, the Nike in Oregon. I mean, that's Eugene, Oregon's not a big market, but there's only a few colleges that are legitimately in big market cities. You know, SMU's in Dallas and
TCU's in Fort Worth.
Yeah, San Diego State is, I say San Diego, but like LA, USC and UCLA are in LA. Stanford, San Francisco, Miami's in Miami, but like, Chicago has Northwestern. So again, like those are the big major markets. New York City doesn't have a major football team.
Texas and Austin.
Yeah, Texas. So like you're talking about, a few schools that, the market could dictate, but I still don't think that's really going to be the issue with NIL. It's going to be the ones with the biggest alumni base.
From Yoti's, I like what you said there. You're right. That most of the big cities don't have a college program they're entrenched in that city. I don't believe so. With facilities, brand, and family focus, Baylor is better than most schools now. From Kappa Esquire.
I do think that their religious aspect plays into their hand, even though the outside media, because the media is basically, the majority of media is godless and left-leaning. I mean, it's true. And, the fact that they'll get blowback from the media, but in general, I think it's a positive. Mm-hmm. And, the only times I've seen it used as a negative is from the media because it's Christian-related. And so I look at it as we just talked to a commit the other day, and we've talked to countless coaches who have all said like that Christian mission, the fact that you don't have to hide I'm a Christian, which is sad that we even have to say that, but it's true. That's why Baylor has an attraction that I don't think a lot of other schools have that's unique that could play into their favor if they play their cards right.
Yes and no. Baylor could be a stepping stone job for a coach that were either his first head coaching gig or first Power 5 gig. And let's say he's under 55. Winning at Baylor means you beat Oklahoma and Texas, competing for conference championships. Schools will come calling for a young, hot, up-and-coming coach. On the flip side, money will never be a reason a coach leaves Baylor. To the right person, Baylor could be a destination job. See Scott Drew. It's too early to know about Aranda, how he views Baylor as a destination job. But with his personality, I could see him being at Baylor for 15-plus years. Should he win and then compete for conference titles, not to mention, I've heard he would like to be at Baylor for a long time.
I actually do get the sense that he would stick around for a while, and I don't see the pull from some, like if 10 years from now Alabama came calling or something, like you have to take the call. But I think for the most part, you don't hear that NFL drive in him. You don't hear like the alma mater connection that you hear with a lot of coaches of like, Dabo went to Alabama, that kind of thing. There's none of that. So, yeah, if he can find some success, I think he could be in for the long haul.
And again, when you talk about stepping stone, I think this also, Craig and I talked about this yesterday. Most coach extensions and things like that, you're negotiating, the school's negotiating against themselves. And I'll use Kevin Sumlin as an example at A&M. He had that great year with Johnny Manziel. And they were, just on the cusp of being, in the conversation for the title. Don't lose to Florida early in the year and holy cow, So you don't have that. So he got, like a 6-year extension based on that 1 year. And it was because A&M was like, oh my God, where's he going to go? He could go to the Eagles or he could go wherever. He could go to the NFL. He could go to this. USC. He could do that. They were negotiating against themselves. They're negotiating against themselves. And then you give this guy a bunch of money. He winds up not doing, he didn't have Johnny Manziel again. They leveled off. Yep. And then you were negotiating against yourselves. And that's what happens all over the place. You should not, if your coach wants to go to the NFL, let him go to the NFL. One of the things that Baylor didn't do with Matt Rule is that, they gave him the extension, they did that, but if he was going to leave, they don't have to pay a buyout. They don't owe him any more money. They didn't negotiate against themselves. That's what they do. Most schools negotiate against themselves because if a guy wants to leave, he's going to leave. Don't negotiate against yourself.
Go back up a little bit. I want to see the way that guy broke it down by sport because I think that's a
football.
Good way
it depends. Yep. Women's basketball, it's a destination job.
Yep.
Men's basketball, Drew is the lifer.
Yep.
Volleyball, stepping stone, yes. Baseball, stepping stone, yes. Soccer, stepping stone, yes. Even though, as you mentioned, Jobson's been here. They've been here forever. Mm-hmm. And volleyball really has had the one change when Jim Barnes left and then went to Tulane, and he's been there since.
And look, Ryan McGuire's going to stay here because he is very, very religious. He's like Glenn Moore. Glenn Moore and Ryan McGuire cut from the same cloth, very religious dudes who, All
right. I'll tell you what's not a stepping stone. A&T, baby. Go Coach Mulkey, multi-time national champs. There's no stepping stone. There's no way up.
Oregon was the alpha.
And she came from
and now
there.
Baylor is the alpha dog. We're a stepping stone for Sam Houston's offensive line.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
A response, the stepping stone, not obviously for guys who couldn't handle the rigorous requirements on and off the field, and so they get back and forth with that. Yeah. There's really one other one that I thought that was pretty cool. This is really long. This will be a really interesting question to revisit. 19 years when an additional 10 million people will have moved to the state, raising our population to 50 million by 2050. It's unlikely the state will ever have an income tax. I'm not sure. Oh, okay. He gets into the income tax parts as well.
Well, depending on where the population moves, Waco could blow up, and it already kind of is. And, that could obviously have some impact on future successes if it turns into a, what is it? Was it now like 100-something thousand, Waco? Okay. If it's
Waco's
200-something thousand?
It's 240,000, right?
Yeah, okay, like 215,000?
Yeah, it's jumped.
225, okay, somewhere in that range. If it's like 275 in 10 years or like 250 in 10 years, something like that, then yeah, it's going to be a lot different, and they might have a lot more to pull from.
Well, I've seen in the 10 years I've been here, the growth and what they've done business-wise is insane. All right, when we come back, we'll hear from John McClain. There's a couple more responses. Thanks to those of you on SicEm365.com for doing that. This is SicEm365 Radio.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. love with Rudy's Tasty Oak Smoked Barbecue.
Next in line.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasonings, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
I mentioned earlier this show about us doing Bosqueville baseball tomorrow night in Round Rock, and if they win Thursday at noon on SicEm365 Radio, Lark Smith, who did the MCC games, won the national title in Grand Junction, Colorado's in studio with us. Great to see Lark. Always great to see Lark. We're now joined by John McClain. I know he knows Lark Smith as well. John, how about Mitch Thompson and MCC winning the national championship?
Well, I'm curious, did you guys call Rick Butler, who won that first championship?
We had him on. We had him on. I think it was about the last time they were in the national championship. So we've had him on. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I know that Rick would be really proud of MCC winning the school's second championship after he won the first one. He's a prominent Waco, and I've respected ever since I took tennis from him when I was a freshman there in 1971. But I think Mitch Thompson did obviously an incredible job. Congratulations to the staff. As a proud graduate of MCC before I went to Baylor, and I think I was alumni of the year in 2018. I came up there and accepted an award, and they treated me royally. And when I was at the Tribune-Herald, I covered MCC when Vinnie Johnson was there, took them to the national championship. So I wouldn't be where I am today without spending my time covering the Highlanders and basketball and baseball. I'll always love going out to the ballpark there and hanging out in the stands and watching them play good baseball. They play good baseball for a long time, and now they're the best in the country, and you can't beat it.
All right, John, do the Texans have a legit quarterback battle with Deshaun Watson off the map for right now, or is it Tyrod Taylor, and that's who the quarterback is?
No, it's Tyrod.
Tyrod
Taylor is the starter, and veteran Jeff Driscoll is the backup. Rookie Davis Mills is number 3. Now, at some point this year, they're going to have to look at Davis Mills, their third-round pick from Stanford. I think the best time would be after their bye week, the last 8 games of the season, because they've got to find out, can he be the quarterback of the future? It's not likely, but they need to find out, because if he can, then that means that has a huge impact on the 2022 draft. If he can't, they're going to have to use their first pick, which could be first overall, in finding a new quarterback.
John, I know that you wrote a couple of pieces about Davis Mills. What were some of your impressions in talking to him, just hearing him speak about his experience or opportunity with Houston?
Well, first, Craig, the Texans haven't made him available to us since he was drafted. We've requested him. He's been here since the rookie minicamp, so he made an appearance at TriStar shows here, memorabilia shows. So 4 of us in the media went over and interviewed him. He was terrific. He has got great size. He had a 36 on his Wonderlic, which is probably higher than anybody in the organization. And his only issue about him, great arm, is he only started 11 games at Stanford and played in 14. But he came from David Shaw's pro-style system when he took snaps under center and in the shotgun, which he has to do in the NFL. They let him have some freedom at the line of scrimmage. So from the mental stuff, he shouldn't have that difficult a transition. But there's nothing like playing and learning from your success and failures, and he just didn't get to do that much. Had he stayed in school for his last year, he might have been a top 10 pick.
John McClain, Houston Chronicle with the SicEm365 Radio. Your thoughts about the Falcons and Julio Jones going to the Titans?
Well, we asked Lovie Smith today about it. Of course, his job just got tougher because he plays them twice a year. And somebody asked me, how does Julio Jones getting traded to the Titans affect the Texans? I said, are you kidding me? Doesn't affect the Texans at all. The next time they're competitive, he'll be retired. So it affects Indianapolis because the Colts and the Titans are the 2 best teams in the division. Lovey's played 5 games against Julio Jones when he was the head coach at Chicago and Tampa Bay, knows him very well. But there's not another team that can put a foursome out there like Jones, A.J. Brown, their third-year receiver, who's outstanding, Derrick Henry, the best running back in the NFL, and Ryan Tannehill, who's done a tremendous job of rejuvenating his career over the last 2 seasons when they finished 10-6. When they've gone to the AFC Championship game and then won the division this year.
Well, and they lost Jonnu Smith, too. How much do you think that helps make up for the loss of Corey Davis, who has a lot of yards, and obviously he's better, but also Jonnu Smith, who went to the Patriots?
Well, let's be honest. Losing Jonnu Smith, that's not any big deal for them. The guy was pretty good. He had a few good games, but it's not like he's an elite tight end. He's more like an H-back. But when you had A.J. Brown, he's the one that gets double-teamed. And now with Julio Jones coming in there, he's going to help take away those double teams from Brown. Corey Davis was a disappointment except last season. Last year of his contract, he had his best season. I'm always suspect of players that do that, and we'll see how he does with his new team. But that offense is going to be fun. It's going to be prolific. I'm not picking them over the Chiefs, but I think it helps make them a legitimate Super Bowl contender behind Kansas City. And if their defense will be better, their defense was bad last season. If the defense is better, they've got a chance to challenge the Chiefs. Because if you play a good team, the best way to beat them is keep a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes on the sideline while you run Derrick Henry 30 times.
John, any thoughts on the passing of Jim Fossil? Did you know him at all or have many interactions with him?
I didn't know Jim Fossil, but of course I knew his career. Terrible thing. Feel bad for his son. And, Jim was 71. He helped the Giants go to the Super Bowl. He was very well respected as an assistant coach and a great guy. Everybody liked Jim Fossil. So it's a loss for the NFL and condolences to the Fossil family.
John McClain with us, Houston Chronicle. John, what is it like? You mentioned that the Texans did not, at least have not let Davis be available, but he was with you, or he's at that collectibles deal. What is it like to see these OTAs? Not everybody's doing them, but you're starting to see like the weeds come up from the ground in the early spring, and then eventually the grass grows. What's it like to see some of this happening for someone who's been a part of the league for so long?
Well, we've only been able to see two, and one wasn't legitimate. We'll see another one tomorrow. I like watching quarterbacks, receivers, defensive backs, tight ends. Can't watch the linemen. Those guys are, as I call it, patty cake football. They can't hit till training camp. And even in training camp, it takes like days for them to put on pads. A coach today referred to them as being out there in their nightgowns, which I'd never heard, but probably thought was pretty appropriate. So you watch the quarterback, and like Davis Mills, when he stands out with his size, his arm, and you watch him with all the receivers, and they have so many new players on this team, 50 new players, 42 new veterans. They're like an expansion team, and I can't wait to see how it all comes together. It's kind of like shuffling cards or shuffling dominoes and then see how they fall, because this team's got a long way to go. Underdogs right now in every game they play. Some people think they'll be the first 0-17 team. I don't believe that, because they play Jacksonville here, they play the Jets here. I think they might win one game or two, maybe three, which is what I predict. Hopefully they'll be bad enough to get the top pick.
John, do you see the offseason structure changing with all these teams kind of getting together and saying that they didn't like the way that was OTAs are structured, and you got player in the NFLPAs kind of getting involved in this now, even though there's a current collective bargaining agreement?
There's so much whining about the off-season program, Paul. They're out there in shorts and T-shirts and helmets. They don't hit. That's why I call it patty cake. They reach out, touch each other's hands. I've never seen so much whining about an off-season program that really is just mainly about the mental part. And as people have said, if the union worked that hard when they did the last collective bargaining agreement, they would have come out better.
Thank you, John. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Sic'em.
That's John McClain, Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, with us every Tuesday in the 5:30 or so segment.
I did
here or what?
I did like what I heard from the Falcons' new head coach on Julio Jones when he was asked. He said, "I don't talk about players I've never coached. Like I don't have any thoughts on a player I've never coached." So I thought that was brilliant response. It's totally true too. So why stoke the flames?
All right, the Rangers used to not be able to get Chris Davis out, so they did something. They acquired him to make sure they didn't have to face him. They have designated him the former American League home run champion for assignment.
Remember when people got excited about that signing just because of what he did against the Rangers for a few years?
157, 2 homers, 5 ribbies in 22 games. Had a left quad injury, but...
Here's what they're starting to do, and they did this forever and ever and ever, amen. They're starting to try to catch lightning in a bottle with pitchers and other players instead of grooming and developing their farm system. And that means you have to find somebody who can cultivate the talent, mature the talent, and maybe that could be one of their problems, and might be why Chris Young's also involved.
Well, I think the Chris Davis thing, they had to do something, and there weren't a lot of great options out there for them. That was kind of like their best option, and so they're working on building that farm system back up. They've made some strides there in the last year or two, so I think that's on course to maybe be back where it was a few years ago prior to the World Series run when they dumped all of their top prospects.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still some work to do. But, they got the Josh Youngs and those types of players that'll be coming up soon. But, yeah, no doubt. Like that Chris Davis thing, though, like the moment he signed that, you knew that was going to be a bust.
Well, and they've had that with a couple guys who were I guess Chris Davis came over in the, I guess that was in the Elvis Andrus trade, and neither of them are setting the world on fire this year. So, it's not, but like it was a move for both teams. But one of the things you'd think the Rangers fans thought, well, at least this guy could help the team out after he murdered them. Chris Davis murdered the Rangers. They were not going to get that Vlad Guerrero. Like Vlad Guerrero came to the Rangers and was fantastic. And he when he was with the Angels, just I'm surprised that like pitchers didn't leave bleeding because he just he just killed him so much. His average was like 490 against the Rangers for a stretch. So.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. It was.
And they're about to play some people, aren't they?
Well, the thing is, right before you left, they were actually hanging around, and in the span of about a week, and it's really been more about 2 or 3 weeks, but in the span of that time, they have just completely tanked. Like they have completely fallen off the side of the earth. They're 15 games.
Yeah, they're 5-20 in their last 25.
They're 1-9 in their last 10. Yeah. I mean, they're atrocious right now. So by Chris Davis, I mean they got more work to do than just cutting. Fat. I mean, they've got a lot of work to do, and maybe that's part of them getting that started.
And it's funny that you bring this up, given the topic.
All right, before we go to that, hold on. Jokic won the MVP in the NBA.
Good. Yeah, he deserved it.
Had a hell of a year.
He deserved it.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Brought to you by Slapsticks Comedy Club. Get your tickets now for our show on Friday night, slapstickscomedy.com. It's at Rogue Media Network, Friday night, 8 o'clock. We're doing an improv show there. I'll be involved in that. Mike, Kevin, Amber, and Katie as well. We have a fun time when we do it. So coming out and see us. There'll be a food truck there. Do a lot of big things. And the club is coming along, Slapsticks. Looking for a soft opening in that first weekend in July. So we'll see. So this is the biggest whiffs in Rangers free agent history, and while and we'll just go through some of these that some you may not remember, some you definitely will. Number 5, Mark Clark. Brought him in. I saw an article today.
Padres?
Yeah, some Padres.
It's spelled Will.
Yeah.
Will was good. Will was part of the
good. He's my favorite player growing up.
Yeah, Mark Clark did not help them in the slightest. Had an 8.32 ERA with the Rangers, and they gave him $9 million.
Is that I'm thinking about Jack Clark.
Yeah,
Mark Clark was with the Padres.
Yeah,
every guy that we're naming that's also named Clark is better than Mark Clark.
Yeah.
I don't even remember him. I really don't.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, number 4, and this was a trade. Chris Davis. Murdered the Rangers for years, hit 150. You know what they did do is they solved the problem of Chris Davis murdering them by just bringing him in and let him kill them from the inside.
No, there you go.
And now they've ruined his career, so now he won't kill him again.
No, he's going to go to somebody and he will get rejuvenated.
Oh my God!
I guarantee you, he can go sign with like the Yankees or something, and he'll hit like 10 bombs in his next 30 games or something crazy like that. I would not be surprised.
Yeah. Number 3, Chan-Ho Park, which you could argue is number 1, but Man, a $60 million contract, and they thought, holy, 5 years, $65 million, and Chan-Ho Park, he did a lot of this.
Oh. Yeah, right over his head. I came across, I was doing some spring cleaning a couple months back, and when we were at our old place, we had if you wanted, you could have a massive collection of Rangers bobbleheads.
Yeah.
And because they sent the giveaways and stuff. And I was sorting through all these Rangers bobbleheads, realizing I don't need all these things. And I had like 10 Chan-Ho Parks, I felt like. At one point, he was Mr. Bobblehead for them, but man, he was just Mr. Bumble in general as a pitcher for the Rangers. That did not work out well, you're right.
Yeah.
Number 2, Andres Galarraga.
Shame on you.
He's a great Rocky.
Great Rocky, terrible Ranger, though. Yeah. Great Expo, great Rocky, terrible Ranger.
He's a good person.
Yeah, I know, but he, they didn't hire him. They didn't hire him to open the children's hospital.
If you'd have told me
hired him to play first base,
if you'd have told me that the guy I saw on my Rockies trading cards in the mid-'90s was going to be a Ranger, I was like, Andres Galarraga is going to be a Ranger. That's awesome. And then it wasn't. It wasn't at all.
It was not. And then number 1, this was the one that disappointed me the most. Ken Caminetti, and met the late Ken Caminetti.
I don't even remember him being there.
He and Andres Galarraga signed on the same day, the day after Alex Rodriguez.
It was a big triumvirate of like, here's the new offense, and one of them was good.
Could you actually put A-Rod on this list?
I actually thought A-Rod would be number one.
Here's the deal. The reason A-Rod, he won the MVP when he was there, so it's not,
I know.
He had 57 home runs. He had 12 that year. I mean, that's not a bad signing. He won the MVP. Now,
the chokehold on the entire roster.
Now, did that signing, was that dumb? Yeah. But it wasn't a bad signing like these guys. You gave a bunch of money to, be good baseball players, and they weren't good baseball players. Alex Rodriguez, you gave him a bunch of money to be a good baseball player. It was just all your damn money.
Yeah.
That's what they did.
Yep. All right. That's good. Golly, Mark Clark. I'm going to have to.
Mark Clark. I was looking because I was struggling to find a fifth one. I looked up. They paid him 3 times the league average.
You were trying to find a fifth one. I would think that would have been easy.
You would think, but like some of them, like you think are bad. If you look at the whole of their career, they had one really like right at the end they were bad, but at the beginning they did what they were supposed to do.
How much did Canseco do with the Rangers?
I think it was a trade.
I actually have one in mind.
Okay, who we got?
Corey Kluber.
Corey Kluber.
Oh,
wow, yeah.
Jeez. Yeah.
We're on the same page over here. He did nothing.
Like,
he barely suited up.
God, that was bad. And he was so good. And
that's a trade.
Yeah. All right. Thanks to all of our guests today, including thanks to Suzie Snider-Eppers. Thanks to John McClain. Thanks as well to David Hellman. Thanks to Babe Laufenberg. He was great. That's it. Tomorrow, I'm working on a couple of former Cowboys. One of them is a former Cowboys quarterback like Laufenberg. Of course, he was there for the Cowboys for a couple of years. Might be Danny White. Dale Hellestrae will be hilarious on Thursday, among many others as well.
And I would like to, at some point, spend a little time talking about the latest rumors with the college football playoff. I don't know if you guys seen some of that chatter, but that's going on right now, so that might be a segment that we could do tomorrow.
All right, we'll do all that and much more. Again, tonight, Paul's Florida State Seminoles against Oklahoma for the national championship. Is that a best of 3? Is that what they do? All right. That's for Armstrong, as well as Jack, and, of course, Hayden. Lark Smith as well. Great to see you. For Paul and Craig, I'm David Smoak. Thank you for watching and listening, or both. SicEm365 Radio. Good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has been proudly serving Texans across the state for over 60 years. Call 254-772-8090 to find an agent who will provide a free review of your auto, home, and life coverage.